Good morning, good afternoon. Hope you're all well out there. Um, I'm a bit tired, but as always, here for it was four. That's not one, that's not two, that's not three. We have four streams today, just to remind you. For those on replay crew, if you do watch this on replay crew, it's a part one and part two today of this. So, um, they'll all be labeled, so you can do that. Anyone else sticking with us live today, don't worry, I got you back because we'll skip to. I need to do actually. That's what I'm gonna do now. Excuse me. I need to set this up so we skip ahead together then. So after this trial, hang on. Let me set this up then. So if I go in here, customize it, redirect to the Kariga trial, save. Then I'll go into the Kariga trial. Which one is it? This one. Then I will customize it. Because on lunch break, we're going to redirect to back to the Marisela Botello murder trial. So that's good. And then after that one over lunch, we'll go back to the Carrega trial. So where's that one? I need to go to this one again and customize it. Go redirect. Part two of the Krieger trial save. I think we got it. Yeah, baby, we got it. So, hello, welcome to everyone. First of all, thank you so much to our new members, our Tackle Club members. We got Gold Nova, we got Shelby Bayard, we have got Tessa Gronley, we have got 724 Seahawks, DK Metcalf, we have got Matthew McGowan. So, welcome all five of you to the Tackle Club. Thank you for your membership, thank you for your support. Really appreciate it. I really do. Thank you. Um, so I've got the other trial set up. Let's put the trial on there. One of my favourites is here. Here she is, Chris Milan. How we doing, Chris? Hope you're well out there in sunny Australia. It's cold in Australia now, isn't it? Is it not true? Right, hang on, Chris. Let's have a conversation. Is it true, Chris? Right, that this time of year it's cold in Australia? Not cold, but like colder in Australia at this time of year. And then what is that? Was it warmer this time of year and then colder? Oh, I'm messing it up. I'm messing it up. I'm well, thank you. I'm well. I'm a bit tired, but I'm well. It's lovely to see you. Well, it's lovely to see everybody. It's lovely to see new members. It's lovely to see everything. So no, what? So okay, so it's warmer. So in the summer, our summer is colder with you. I'm with you. I, one of my friends actually from school, I say friends, I mean, we were friendly in school. She's been living out there for probably 15, 20 years now. She's a lawyer out there, which is bizarre to me. Thinking, we grow up in the same rural area and now she's in Australia, married with kids. Bonkers. It's been super hot here. There we are. I think there was one part that was cold, one part was warm. There we are. As always, Australia backwards. I mean, what can we say? It's always backwards in Australia. So here we go. We have got this trial. I think I've explained it to everybody. We got this one for the next 2.5 hours to maybe even close to 3 hours. Then the Krieger trial. Then at the lunch break, we come back to this trial. So this was on yesterday. The defendant is on the stand at some point today. So just to start off, the state have now rested. I said that the other day. I'm surprised the state haven't rested. They have now rested. We are now going to the defense side of it. So, yeah, it does depend on the day, though, this time of year. Okay, same everywhere, though, here as well. Mary Viviano, hello, how are you, Mary? We didn't see you yesterday, Mary. We missed you, as always. So, but welcome here. I know you're probably not going to watch it with us, but we've got this trial today. But I hope you're well, Mary. Christmas, January, February, March. Okay. And I see that at Christmas Day, people have like barbecues and stuff like that. It's yeah, different world, different world. So yes, so the state have rested. Thanks, great trial. Yeah, I mean it is. Well, I mean we're watching two trials, maybe. The other trial they're watching is much better than this. I'll be honest with you. The Krieger trial is, I would say, a lot better than this trial. But you know, cool. Yeah, it's all good. So I'm only tease you. I only tease you. It's all good. Christmas Day was super awesome years. Yeah, again, another friend I used to work with. He lives in Australia as well, and again from my village, and you see him barbecuing and stuff. It's weird. Right, and we're not going to wait for everybody because I want to get through this. There's a lot on today. We're playing this at 1.25. It's a long day today, and Chris and everyone, if you haven't seen the Christmas schedule, take a look on Discord. It's there for you to take a look at. Hopefully, people can join us over Christmas period at some point or another, because I think we're streaming for 12 hours a day. So hop on whenever you can. Right, so let's start this now because I know we've got a lot to go through today. We'll start it. So I've skipped the part where they put forward a case of saying there's not enough evidence, blah 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 blah, and all that, because we don't need to hear that. Obviously, she said denies it. So this is the start of the defense side of things. Uh,
All right, ma'am, if you would please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. You may be seated. You may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Ma'am, what is your name for the record?
Christine Ramirez
And Ms. Ramirez, how are you employed?
with the City of Dallas Police Department.
How long have you been employed as a police officer with the city of Dallas?
It'll be 27 or 28 years from March.
28 years.
Yes.
All right, and in that 28 years, one of the positions you held was lead detective on, I guess, this murder case. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And I specifically want to talk to you about this case and your investigation of the case and the manner and means in which you obtained the probable cause affidavit to arrest Ms. Dykes, Nina Morano, and Charles Beltran. You did obtain
Thanks, Jonathan.
arrest warrants in those cases, correct?
Yes, we did.
And also search warrants to search their phones, correct?
Yes, we did.
And that's based on information that you gathered during the investigation of Ms. Botello's murder, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's go back to the beginning. When you were assigned this case, what unit were you in at that time?
Excuse me?
When you initially were assigned the case, what unit were you in?
Special Investigations Unit.
All right, and what did you do in the special investigations?
Investigate officer-involved shootings. Special investigations dealing with cold cases.
So was this considered a cold case? Wasn't it an officer-involved shooting?
No, it's special investigations case.
And that's how you
Endangered person when suspected foul play is actually.
Because when you first got the case, there was no evidence that Marisela was dead, correct? When you first were assigned the case.
Correct.
And it's still a missing persons case.
Endangered person, missing person.
Right, because there's a difference, right?
Yes.
And explain that to the members of the jury.
Missing person is someone who has not been seen or located during a certain period of time, and then after family are concerned where they have not seen the family or suspicion of foul play has actually occurred, then they will actually classify that as endangered person, missing
Okay,
person.
in this case, what was the suspicion about what?
Due to the information that I received from the previous detective,
And what was that?
that there was records where it indicated that the complainant was not in her hometown, Seattle. She was here visiting in Dallas. A Lyft report showed that she was at a an establishment in Deep Ellum, and that phone records showed that she was no longer there, but had proceeded elsewhere to a 7-Eleven store, and then from that point to a home in Mesquite. And then from that location, there was no other phone records that I can recall from Ms. Botello, the complainant.
Okay, but the person, it was known at that time that the person that she was with at the 7-Eleven was Charles Beltran, correct?
At the time, when he was as person of interest,
Right, I mean, he's just a person of interest, but you're looking, because you want to talk to the person that we see her on the 7-Eleven with, right?
yes.
Uh,
And there was a vehicle also involved.
And just so we're clear, let me show you what's marked as defensive exhibit number 1. This is the like a screenshot from the surveillance camera at 7-Eleven, right?
Correct.
Where we would have saw Marisela and a person that was later found to be Charles Beltran.
Correct.
Now, at some point, you continue your investigation, correct?
Yes, sir.
And y'all end up at that house in Mesquite.
Well, the previous, if you're talking about the beginning of it, or when I actually took place, when I actually started the investigation.
Okay, yeah. What do you mean the previous?
Well, the previous detective that was actually
And who was that?
Dalby.
Okay, that's right. And what did Darby do?
My understanding is that they were out there in Mesquite.
They're in Mesquite.
But I can't give you exact details because I wasn't there, other than what I was told. Or
Okay,
information given.
tell us what happened once you took over the investigation, what you did.
During that time, we reviewed everything that was given from that detective, and then whatever identification type of links that would actually give us to a specific car, a phone number, contact, social media, whatever information we can get to find out who this Beltran person was at.
Because when you're referring to the car on the 7-Eleven surveillance videos, we knew that it was Black Audi, right?
We knew it was a black vehicle until later registration popped up where it showed to be an Audi with a license plate.
And the Black Audi registered to Mr. Beltran and Ms. Dykes.
Yes,
All right, and based on that, y'all were able to get the Kensington address.
yes,
And then you got a search warrant for that location, right?
yes,
Were you present during the search warrant?
yes.
At some point, after y'all searched that location, what happens?
They when the crime scene investigator, I asked him to actually what do you call it? I can't remember the blue star. It's a chemical reaction. So I wanted that to be sprayed among the whole house, and from that point, that's where we found that there was some type of possibly blood that was in one of the rooms, and they actually tore it up. Not tore it up, but removed it like they did to actually have it for testing.
Okay, so let's go back. So what does the blue star do?
It's a chemical reaction to blood. Like I said, I'm not an expert on it, so I can't really testify really on to that. But I know my understanding is get the protein from blood to actually determine if that there was actually human blood in the
And so even if you try to wipe it up,
from the top. Yeah,
the blue star is going to detect that blood.
it'll change color because they actually did the testing prior to, and then when it changed color, it turned to purple. I was mistaken.
And you had them do the whole house?
Yes, as far as most of the house. Once we there are some stains in the house that we noticed, so for sure we made sure that those were actually spot checked.
And I guess I'm going to get right to the point in reference to the arrest warrant that you swore to. There's a lot of information in there, like for example, talking about the blood. You indicated in the arrest warrant that Marisela's blood was found, and that there was a female and a male blood that was found that you believe belonged to Charles Beltran, Lisa Dykes, and Nina Moreno, right?
If I'm not mistaken, it's correct.
Right. That's what you told the judge you believe, right?
Yes.
But that wasn't true, was it?
Like I said, it's a probable cause, so it probably happened. So it's not a confirmed statement, it's a probable cause
My
statement.
question to you is, when you make the statement, my question to you is, the blood that was found in the bedroom did belong to Marisela, right?
Yes, after we got the DNA, correct.
But it did not belong to Lisa Dykes, Nina Moreno, nor Charles Belcher, right?
At that point, we did not know because we didn't have their DNA to actually test it on.
Do you know now?
Based
That
on
blood-
what? Pardon?
Do you know now for a fact that the DNA on whatever blood that was found in Mr. Beltran's room did not belong to Charles Beltran?
Correct.
Did not belong to Lisa Moreno?
Lisa.
Lisa Dykes?
Correct.
Did not belong to Nina Moreno?
Correct.
So you were wrong.
Like I said, it was probable cause at the time.
No.
Right now, of course, the DNA, of course, going to show who actually DNA is actually belongs to that blood.
Ma'am, I'm not saying you didn't believe it. I'm just saying you were wrong. That blood didn't belong to those people, did it?
Correct.
So you were wrong.
Correct.
There was a hair sample inside the Audi. Remember
Yes.
that?
Yes.
And you believe that hair sample belonged to Marisela, didn't you?
Based on matching, yes. Matching the description of a dark hair, long hair.
But it didn't, did it?
No.
You
I
were
find-
wrong.
Correct.
You were wrong, correct?
Based on evidence, correct.
You also indicated that in the Audi, that there was concrete. What did you say about the concrete? That it was similar to the concrete that was out in the Wilmer area?
There was concrete found in the vehicle. Based on the phone records that we got initially, showed that the vehicle or the suspect vehicle was actually at a concrete place. So we actually went to the location to actually see where the target cell phone records, I'm not real good with records, but showed that it was at a concrete firm. So we actually went out there and saw that there was concrete. And based on that, that's why based on the information we had, that the Audi had actual cement on there. I think the rear tire, if I'm not mistaken.
Hi, Tim.
But that's the Audi, right?
Yes.
And you're saying that
What kind?
that car would have gone out to that location on October the 5th, right?
Well, we know that the phone, we know which car it was, but we know that vehicle was Beltran's and Lisa Dykes.
Well, in your investigation, isn't it true that Mr. Beltran, when he left the Mesquite location on October the 5th, he left in the Audi?
I don't know what vehicle we actually left, unless I
So
see it.
you're the lead detective in this case, and you're telling members of the jury that you don't know which vehicle he left Mesquite in that morning.
Well, I know the vehicle was a black vehicle that was taken to a oil change place, and it had Beltran's name on it.
Because Mr. Beltran on the 5th took that vehicle to the oil change place, right?
I suppose so, yes, sir.
Because on October the 5th, Charles Beltran is driving the black Audi, isn't he?
According to that, yes, sir.
Ma'am, in reference to okay, I want to also ask you specifically in regards to your investigation as the lead detective in the case. You can tell us the good, the bad, and the ugly about this case, correct?
Yes, sir.
You are the lead detective, right?
Correct.
And it's your responsibility to make sure that any evidence that is collected in regards to the investigation of this case is maintained, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, but you didn't do that in this case, did you?
What are you referring to?
I'm referring to all the evidence that was destroyed in this case. They never got to the defense, that's what I'm referring to.
Nothing was destroyed. I did not destroy anything.
I'm not saying you destroyed it, you didn't save it properly, did you? There was evidence that was not saved properly in this.
That was not under my watch.
Okay, well, you're the lead detective,
Correct.
right? When these officers store that evidence, you're supposed to make sure it gets stored properly, right?
They are responsible to citing the correct case number, whatever the case may be, whether it be an investigation, arrest, or whatever it is. They are responsible for saving that. And then from that information, then I look into it to make sure we have it. And if that particular case, I did not have it. I asked Detective Dalby, and he did not have those videos that you're referring to.
Ma'am, isn't it true, that during the time you were investigating this case, going from state to state, trying to locate witnesses, trying to figure out what happened to, Mrs. Botello, you also had some personal issues you were dealing with, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
That directly impacted this case, correct?
What are you referring to, sir?
I mean, just one thing is, you testified before you dropped the ball on this case. didn't you?
Yes.
So there was evidence that the defense could have used, that could have aided in our defense that we didn't get.
Everything was corrected before this trial started.
Where's the body cam video of Mr. Floyd's interview with Mr. Hayes?
Who?
Is it detective? Officer Hayes. Do you remember Officer Hayes talking to a security guard that claimed that he would have saw Miss Botello out near the Mustang Inn on or about October the 12th?
Let's see. No, because that wasn't Miss Botello. It was a tip that we got, but it wasn't her.
How'd you confirm it wasn't her?
Because we couldn't find her. I mean, it wasn't, I can't remember what it was.
Did you talk to Mr. Mitchell? Did you talk to Floyd Mitchell, the security guard out there?
I did not.
Because you didn't have the information.
I know we received the tip through social media. We had so many tips coming in at many times. And if I'm mistaken, I know the other detective actually would get tips as well and would follow up on them. But I just don't know. If I'm mistaken with another case, I'm sorry.
What do you mean you had too many tips?
Well, people would call all the time.
Carol, this is embarrassing. This is embarrassing. You're right. Why was she not? Like, what? 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 This is embarrassing. They should be ashamed. This is what's wrong. Basically, they've hidden or they've lost some testimony and now just going, yeah, well, we replaced it. Jesus Christ. Shit show.
People that on social media.
Like, whether you think she's done it or whether she's guilty or whatever, right? The fact that we don't even get all the testimony or the evidence and someone's been destroyed, that means we don't even get a full picture. This is what I hate. Shoddy police work. Hate it.
They would just call and give their their information, and some of the information we just followed up to see if there's anything. But
And some of it you followed up on, some of it you didn't? Is that what you're telling me to the jury?
well, no, it's some of the information was leadable to actually follow up. Some was just information that they would say that they would make assumptions, and that's how the cases would be or the tips would be.
But I'm specifically talking about,
Do you have the report or something I can refer to so I can see what it is? So I don't misspeak.
Well, as a juror, I would be hand in face going, what are we doing? How can he convict somebody, even if it's, when we've been told that some evidence has been destroyed that could have led to her innocence?
the report I'm referring to, right? With Officer Hayes.
I just remember he said something about Mustang Inn. I know they were looking for someone there at that location, but I'm not sure if that's the one you're referring to.
And as far as Officer Hayes is concerned, if he talked to people that indicated to him that they saw Marisela,
Your Honor, I'm gonna at this point check the lead.
just clearly this is a house of witness, so they could be detected. I'd like to have her established as a house of witness.
All right, I will allow you to question this witness as a hostile witness.
Hostile witness. Oh, I hate this stuff. I get cringe of this stuff, you see.
And ma'am, you do remember us discussing Officer Hayes in his report. Or didn't you?
I've got to have a pillow for this.
I have to refer what you're talking about. I'm sorry.
Okay. Judge?
You may.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
I just don't do well with cringe stuff. This I can see could turn into
I'm sure
cringe.
you want Defense exhibit number 8 and ask you to just take your time and review that document.
Yes.
Okay. And so as the lead detective in this case, did you ever personally talk to Officer Hayes?
No. Based on that report, it states that Botello was there 2 weeks prior, and there's no record to indicate that she was there.
Well, I mean, the two guys that he talked to two guys. He talked to William Brown and Octavius Brown, right? And they indicated that they thought they saw her a couple of weeks ago, right?
Yes.
All right. Well, this is October the 13th.
Yes.
All right.
But again, they saw someone 2 weeks ago who was not Botello because she was not in Dallas during that time frame, sir.
Ma'am, they said a couple of weeks. They didn't specifically say 14 days. They just said approximately a couple of weeks.
But that report is on October the 5th.
No. Not pro judge?
The report on the 5th.
Yeah, but I'm saying he talked to them on the 13th, October the 13th.
No, yes, he talked to him, but here it says that. Yeah, that's the officer stating that because she came on the 5th.
Right. So what you're saying is the officer saying because she came on the 5th, they're saying he talked to them on the 13th. You know, he's basically saying, well, that's not 14 days. So no way they could have seen it.
No, let's see. Where is it? I just saw it. Yeah, because he said that she likes to hang out over there at the Mustang Inn.
Right. That's what Brown was saying, right?
Yes.
All right. But the bottom line is, what I'm saying is they didn't say 14 days ago. They just said a couple of weeks. They were estimating, right?
Correct.
But regardless, did you ever talk to Octavius Brown or William Brown about what they seen as a lead detective in this missing persons case?
I'm trying to remember if I actually, myself or the other detective who was working with me, called or made attempts. I don't remember.
Okay. What about after Officer Hayes talked to the Browns, they led him to the city, right? According to the report.
They what?
They led him over to the city end, right?
Mustang Inn. Is that what you're saying?
This is a shit
Right.
show.
Because he started the city end with those guys, right?
I mean, both sides. This is a shit show. What the hell is going on?
No, these guys are at the Mustang Inn, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, for whatever reason, and I'll talk to Officer Hayes about it, he ends up at the Mustang Inn,
Yes.
where he talks to yet another witness, who's actually a security guard over there, right?
Yes, sir.
And that person says that he saw her. He shows him a picture, and that person says, yeah, I saw her on the 12th, right?
According to this, yes, sir.
All right. And what I want to know is, did you talk to that security guard about?
I personally did not.
And you agree with me that the conversation between Officer Hayes and the security guard and the Browns would have all been recorded on a body cam.
Yes.
But we don't have a body cam, do we?
No.
And that's because for whatever reason it wasn't saved, right?
What case number do you have for that? On that report?
She is pissed. He's pissed. She's pissed.
When a video is recorded or actually downloaded, and for them to actually save it, it has to be the correct either incident number or the case number. Here it shows the case number, and then again, it just depends on the officer. And if it's not typed correctly, then when I retrieve it or try to retrieve it, I may or may not get it.
Okay, but what I'm getting at, Detective Ramirez,
Yes, sir.
is Officer Hayes would have shown not only the Browns, but the security guard a photo of Marisela, correct?
If they show them, yes.
That's what his report says.
Yes.
And him showing that photo of Marisela would have been recorded on a body cam had it been saved properly, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then the members of the jury could determine for themselves whether or not Mr. Mitchell and the Browns appear to really recognize this girl.
Yes, sir.
But we don't have that evidence, do we?
No, sir.
And regardless of whose fault it is, we don't have that evidence, do we?
No, sir.
And you're saying you never talked to Mr. Mitchell because I guess it wasn't properly suited.
What a fucking shit show. Jesus.
Or you just disregarded it because it didn't fit your theory of the case. Did you understand my question?
Yes, I was trying to
So
process.
I guess what I'm getting at is all these tips that came in, if it didn't fit your theory of the case, you didn't follow up on it, did you?
Well, the information I received was not, did not link to what he's referring to.
Well, but you didn't check. You didn't talk to Mitchell. You didn't talk to the Browns. You're the lead detective on the murder case, and you didn't talk to these witnesses.
She's incompetent, in my opinion. The investigation could have been. I mean, I didn't realize all this. This is a shit show. I mean, in all honesty, how can you convict?
And don't
In all, how like maybe there's enough evidence. I don't know, but how can you? Well, you know, there's other evidence. Oh, I don't know, but it's the evidence they have against her better be bloody super strong, because all these muck ups, fuck ups.
recall, I'm sorry.
As far as the video at the Reno location where you had another patient that claimed that they thought they might have seen Marisela, what, if anything, did you do? Now I understand the FBI was involved, but what, if anything, did you do to follow up on that to try to figure out who the patient was?
Which place are you referring to?
The Reno bar that was downtown, or in the Deep Ellum area, where, remember them looking at a video that they said they couldn't tell whether it was her or not? Just if you remember, do you remember that,
Trying to remember.
ma'am?
I'm trying to remember.
If I showed you the FBI, I guess, is that Page? Do you know who Taylor Page is?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, I can't understand why they were dropped either, if I'm being honest.
What's in your? Do you remember what Mr. Page emailed you about the Reno bar?
No, can I see the email?
Does this appear to be the email he sent you?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna ask that you reference the highlighted portion here.
Yes.
Okay, and all I'm asking is, I understand that they concluded that they couldn't tell whether it was her or not, but what I want to know is, did you follow up on it?
What could not have any videos because it was already after the fact. When I got the case was in December, and when this happened, it was in October. So a lot of the video that we got was from either family members that came from Seattle to actually retrieve videos of what they had.
So even this actual video that they're referencing, we don't have, right?
No,
Ma'am?
I don't think so. No,
Okay. 'Cause, I mean, you haven't seen it, right?
no, I have not.
And
I know.
because you haven't seen it, you weren't able to turn it over to the state for them to turn it over to us, right?
Right.
I want to also ask you, I want to talk to you about Charles Beltran. Can we talk about Charles Beltran?
Sure.
Where did you meet Charles Beltran?
Where did I meet him?
Yeah, you went to Utah, right?
Yes, sir.
He was in jail, right?
Yes, sir.
And you interviewed him there, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's talk about that. And specifically, when you went to interview Mr. Beltran, he was at that time, y'all put out a capital murder warrant, right?
Yes, sir.
And he was picked up on a capital murder warrant.
Yes.
And is it safe to say that initially all three people were charged with capital murder because y'all suspected that Mrs. Botello may have not gone with them willingly, correct?
Correct.
That's why y'all did capital murder.
Yes, sir.
Okay, but when you initially talked to Mr. Beltran, he was willing to talk to you, right?
Yes.
He
Yes.
waived his Miranda rights,
Yes, he did.
talked to you and Detective Ortiz.
Correct.
All right. And what did he tell you at first?
He didn't know anything.
He told you that
That he had left her at a garage or gas station or something like that.
But you were asking specific questions, correct?
Yes.
You remember him telling you that that they went to his car,
Yes.
they smoked?
Yes.
But as far as any sex in his car, he told you they didn't have sex in the car.
Correct. Correct.
Because you specifically asked him that, right?
Yes.
But you know from other witnesses in this case, he indicated to them that they had sex in the car, right?
Correct.
That she willingly had sex with him in the car. And then they went to the Mesquite.
That's what other witnesses said.
Well, that,
They went to the 7-Eleven and then to Mesquite.
okay, like that said that he told him that they had sex in the car, then he dropped her off, right?
Yes.
But we know that was a lie because we have him going to Mesquite,
Correct.
her phone going to Mesquite.
Yes.
But as far as you were concerned, he told you they never had sex in the car.
Correct.
But he did admit to you that they were drinking.
They took 2 shots at the house and smoked weed in the car.
Okay. All right. And I want to talk about the first version he gave you. You recall him saying they went to the house, they were at his car, they went to the house, they drank a little and had sex. She passed out. I let her sleep and I went in the studio and he fell asleep on the futon.
Yes, that's what he said.
And when he's telling you this, I mean, he's not stumbling. I mean, he's trying to be as convincing as possible, right?
Yes, he was talking to me. He was being cooperative.
And telling you that he passed out, or he says he went to sleep on the futon, right?
Yes, he did say that.
He ended up passing out because he was fucked up. Remember telling you that?
I don't remember F word, but he was crashed out. He crashed out.
Now, I asked you to listen to your video.
Yes, but I
Listen
can't
to the
remember.
video, so you don't remember saying
I just
that?
remember he said he did pass out on the futon.
Because he was fucked up.
Okay.
But you don't remember that part.
I
Yes,
don't
you
remember.
do.
I don't remember the F word. I mean, I don't remember if he said that or not, but I know he crashed out on the
Well, you
futon.
remember he said he woke up and everybody was gone.
Yes, he did say that.
Nina and Lisa were gone. Marisela was gone. He thought she took an Uber, right?
Correct.
I mean, he's telling you that he's not stuttering. He's being as convincing as possible, isn't he?
He's talking.
I mean, he's trying to convince you that that's what happened, right?
Right.
That he doesn't know anything.
Correct.
And he said he wanted to call to check on her, but he didn't have her number, right?
Correct.
And he also said he kept calling Nina and Lisa, but they wouldn't answer.
Correct.
So he went back to Dykes' place down in Deep Ellum.
I think he met him in Deep Ellum.
Dax,
Yes. Well, he did go to, yeah, correct.
Well, in fact, he did. You believe he was with Dex that whole next day, right?
Did they what happened? It was that night,
On October the 5th.
right?
He didn't
That
believe-
evening.
Other than in the early morning hours, when he
Yes.
was obviously with Marisela, he's saying after he left Mesquite, he went back to Deep Ellum and hung out with Dex. I'm talking about in the first
And
version.
okay, I'm not thinking about the third one. Okay. No, yes, he said he was his friend.
In the first version.
Yes,
Didn't say anything about going to Carmen's apartment, right?
right. He did not.
Because had he told you he went to Carmen's apartment after being in contact with Marisela, you guys would have went to Carmen's apartment, right?
What's Carmen's last name?
Carmen was his girlfriend. That's what he told you.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
You never even met with Carmen, did you?
Oh, but is that her? I'm trying to.
Carmen is a girl that's supposed to be from Australia. His girlfriend.
Yeah, she was out of town. She was no longer in Dallas. We
She
didn't.
probably left Dallas, right?
Yes.
But more importantly, at some point in one of these versions,
Hmm.
I think it may have been the final version, after he's putting everything on Lisa, he tells you he goes to Carmen's apartment, doesn't
Yes, he does.
he? And you guys don't talk to Carmen, do you?
No.
Y'all don't find out where her apartment is, do you?
No, we tried to get help with the FBI to locate her.
Okay, but as
We
far
never
as her apartment is what I'm talking about, you
No.
got Mr. Beltran having contact with a missing person, admitting that he went to this apartment, and we do nothing to check to see if there's any indication that Marisela also was at that apartment, do you?
No, sir.
They don't blue star that apartment, do they?
No.
But we know he went to that apartment on that day, if you were to believe him, right?
According to him.
And you never talked to Carmen because she disappeared, right?
Correct.
All right, let's talk about what else he told you. I think you asked him, if Marisela was intoxicated. He told you she wasn't, right?
Right.
Said she was cool.
Yes.
Said the only thing that happened in the car is that they just chopped it up in the car, right?
Yes.
They're saying that they just talked and smoked weed.
Yes.
And then you try to pin him down in regards to what time he would have left. I guess Deep Ellum area, going back to Mesquite, he really wasn't sure, was it?
Correct.
And do you remember specifically asking him about where Nina and Lisa were when he got to the house?
He said they're in the bed in the room.
He said they were in the bed asleep, right?
Yes, sir.
And in his first version, he said they never came out of the room. Remember that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. They, meaning Lisa and Nina, never came out of their room.
In one of the stories, he did say that.
Okay. Told you he woke up, his bed was clean, his room was clean. He thought that Marisela just took an Uber, right?
Yes.
Oh, you remember talking about that studio and how him and the guys would always sleep in the studio?
Yes.
So the fact that he had more than just one or two women over there, he made it clear to you that he had friends come over at times.
Yes.
And they'd be in the studio recording.
Yes.
He told y'all that he didn't wake up till about what time? Do you remember? In that first story.
I don't remember.
And he said he didn't wake up till he didn't get up
It was
till
like noon. Yes. Now I remember. Yes.
And
He did say
y'all-
that.
Y'all knew that was a lie because you already had the oil change information, right?
Yes.
But he said due to the trip, he was sleepy, he didn't get up to noon, right?
Correct.
And then he went about his day. Remember that?
Yes.
And because you already had information that he was with Madeline, you asked him, were you with a friend? Well, you asked him, did you go see another friend? Or you asked him, did you go see a friend? And he told you no, he was with that, right? In that first version.
Yeah, he had different versions, so I may have asked him.
Okay. And as far as Lisa was concerned, you remember asking him if he was intimate with Lisa?
Yes,
And he told you no, right?
yes,
That all this was some of his potential, right?
yes.
In fact, he kind of got ugly with it when you kind of pressed him on being intimate with Lisa. He was like, have you, now look at Lisa. And just so we're clear,
I skipped a bit there. I don't know if I'm in the right place now.
you filed a case against Lisa Dykes, Nina Morano, and Charles Beltran, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you were the lead detective, right?
Correct.
But not anymore, right?
No.
You were demoted, correct?
I was transferred.
So you weren't demoted?
I'm still in my same rank, not as a detective though.
Okay, you're just not a detective anymore.
Correct.
And that's largely because of
The videos.
things that happened on this case.
Yes, sir.
All the videos and things that went missing.
Not that was not the reason. Is for because I actually forgot to actually send over the videos, and when I caught it, I made corrections right away. It was just an honest mistake.
Well, but
That
that
cost
wasn't the
me
only
money.
evidence you didn't turn over. You still had stuff in your trunk, didn't you?
The trunk.
Didn't you bring over boxes? What?
Well, that was from headquarters.
Oh, okay, you got to go back over the headquarters.
Yes, that's where we got everything.
Okay. But that was all stuff that you just didn't turn over? Until the judge made you turn it over, right?
Which can you remind me
I'm talking about the stuff that you just left in your closet at headquarters.
what closet?
Where were the bones? Do you remember
Oh, the
bones?
box. Yes,
Yeah,
the
the box
box
with the bones. Where was that?
at headquarters.
In your closet?
Well,
Oh,
within a file.
in the file?
Mhm.
But,
Yeah, we have to answer yes or no.
Yes,
but again, that involved this case.
yes.
Thank you, Detective.
Yes, sir.
Representative? Yes, Your Honor. Detective Ramirez, how are you this morning?
I'm okay. Mhm.
Okay. I just want to start with kind of what he left off with, okay?
Yes,
You and I had met several times over the course of, when I received this case, was signed this case in, I think, May of 2022. Is that right?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what he's talking about essentially is that you had, there's a DMV system online where there are photographs, videos, things of that nature, and a portal on your end, and you have to tag a certain way, hit a button, and that's simplifying it for those things to transfer to our end. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, we had discovered right before trial that several photographs, and to be very clear, the vast majority of the photographs that we were talking about that were transferred late were all photographs of property from the arrest of Nina Morano and Lisa Dykes. Is that correct?
correct.
And it was all their property,
Yes.
and they knew all of what they had. Is that right?
Correct.
That was a vast majority of the things that were turned over late.
Yes,
Now, this box that we're discussing, in, I believe it was January of 2022, February of 2022, February 2nd, you actually talked to some individuals who were out at the site. The community is highly involved in this case, and they have like a little memorial out there that people go to and tend to. Is that correct?
yes,
And that's where her body was found. Is that correct?
yes,
And it was about a year and a half, or maybe a year and several months after her remains were found at that site that these people were out there. Is that correct?
yes, ma'am.
They picked up a bra and some panties that were out there, and then 2 boats. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay. And based on the length of time, and just it wasn't tested, it wasn't put in the property room, and it didn't appear that those items would be necessarily related to this case, because it's been over a year. Since her remains have been found.
Correct.
And you were out there for at least one of the searches. There was a couple of searches at that site after the initial find. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Dozens of people, this far apart, from 3-4 feet apart from each other, walking back and forth through there to find as many items as they could. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And it's safe to say that if there was a pair of bra and panties out there at that time, certainly those would have been picked up.
Correct. Okay.
And you're aware that the testing after that was done where those items did not come back to anybody related to this case.
Correct.
Now, let's go back and talk about, kind of the sequence of events as far as prior to talking to Charles Beltran, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall going to Florida in March to try to locate Lisa and Nina and Charles Beltran?
Yes, ma'am.
And you guys had some tips, or not necessarily tips, but you had some cell phone records and some addresses and things like that led you to believe they might be in Miami. Is that right?
Yes.
And you guys followed up on that?
Yes.
And you got the Florida Department of Law Enforcement to help you. Is that
Yes,
right?
we did.
And just before that, I believe it was March 22nd of 2021, you actually had the 3 warrants signed by a judge here in Dallas. Is that right?
Yes.
And you had probable cause affidavit, and that particular judge reviewed over it, and he felt like you had probable cause for the arrest of all 3 of you. Is
Yes.
that right?
Yes.
Okay, so that was before you ever talked to anybody.
Correct.
That was even before her remains were found. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, you guys were actually in Florida when you got word that a person that was trying to trap feral cats out in Wilmer, just off the road, just off of, I believe, is it Post Oak Road?
Yes.
Just off of that road, had found a skull.
Yes.
And based on that, they were able to do dental identification records, and it was confirmed that was Marisela. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, at that point, you all found a good address in Miami for Nina Morano. Is that right?
Correct.
And FDLE actually sent someone to sit on her house and
Surveillance.
survey her house and just watch and see the comings and goings of who all was coming in and out. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And in the course of that, the individual that was sitting on that house ended up making the arrest of Nina Morano.
Correct.
Okay. And he wasn't able to arrest Lisa though because she ran right then. She left that apartment right then and took off to Orlando. Is that right?
Correct.
And you went up to Orlando. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And Lisa was arrested in Orlando. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And that was on March 26th that she was arrested. Does that sound right?
Yes.
And Nina Morano was arrested the day prior.
Correct.
Now, at that point, they were waiting to see if Charles Beltran would be at the hotel room with Lisa. Is that your understanding?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay, but he wasn't there, was he?
No.
Okay, so the U.S. Marshals start looking for him. They get some leads that at some point he is in Utah.
Correct.
And a team is sent out there to Utah, and they find him and arrest him. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so at the point that you talked to Charles Beltran, Nina and Lisa have already been arrested, correct?
Yes.
The warrant had already been issued.
Yes.
Okay, so you didn't get probable cause based on anything that Charles Beltran told you?
No.
It had already been done.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about your interview with Mr. Beltran, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
It was over 2 hours long, is that right?
Yes.
And it's fair to say for the first 45 minutes, he pretends like he didn't know anything.
Correct.
You weren't convinced of that word.
Correct.
Now, you weren't convinced because you've done this full investigation. You started with this case on December 8th of 2020. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And Marisela Botello had been missing since October 5th. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you knew that Marisela Botello was a responsible individual. You knew that she had a job. You knew that she had a stable family. She had friends. She had all the reasons to go back to Seattle on October 5th as her flight had been scheduled. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you knew based on talking to these people that her not posting on social media and all those things, just that was not normal for her at all.
Correct.
And you know that the Youth Crimes Division that does these missing persons, they get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of missing persons reports on young people in their early 20s that just decided not to show back up home.
True. Correct.
And most most of the time, those missing persons end up just showing back up.
Yes.
Maybe they went out and wanted to, go do drugs for several days, go prostitute at hotels and things like that. That's kind of what that normally looks like. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
The reason you all got involved is because her bank records showed no activity at all.
Correct.
Her phone records showed no activity at all.
Correct.
No contact with family.
Correct.
It's like she dropped off the face of the earth.
Yes.
It's like she had been murdered.
Correct.
So that's why eventually Special Investigations Unit got involved. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, Dragonfly Lady.
So you know all these things before you ever talked to Charles Beltran. Is
Yes.
that right?
Yes, ma'am.
You also knew that the FBI had gotten involved early on, about October 12th, in trying to locate Marisela. Is that right?
Correct.
You knew that they had talked to Lisa Dykes, and Lisa Dykes lied to him. You knew that.
Correct.
Okay, you knew that Charles went on the run with Madeline Alvarez first.
Yes.
You knew that Lisa and Nina met him up in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
You knew that they traveled up to Buffalo and got him a passport.
Correct.
You knew that Lisa and Nina had paid off his child support so that he could get that passport.
Correct.
You knew that he had gone all the way to Mexico with Lisa and Nina, and that they had been there for 3 to 4 weeks. Is that
Correct.
you knew that Lisa and Nina had been traveling freely back and forth. Is that right?
Correct.
You knew that Nina had suddenly, out of nowhere, decided to sell her house in Pennsylvania.
Correct.
In fact, she made a call around October 12th. This was the same time that the first missing persons of Marisela Botello reports come out in the news.
Correct.
I mean, is that just a coincidence, or is that something that makes you think that these ladies are involved?
Make me feel that they were involved.
So you know all this information before you even talk to Charles Beltran,
Yes,
correct?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. And generally in interrogations, when you're talking to an individual, one of the techniques is just to let them know, you can talk, you can tell me whatever. You let them tell that story, right?
Yes.
You're taught that.
Yes. Tell them, just have them say whatever they want to say, and then from there poke at their story.
Right. And so that you don't expect any person that you talk to right off the bat start telling you everything that happened.
Correct.
It's when they're confronted with evidence that you have in the case that they start telling you, oh, okay, I need to tell you the truth, because she knows what she's talking about.
Correct.
And that's the technique that you used in this case. Is
Yes.
that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we're talking about the first 45 minutes of his interview. He acting like he just dropped her off somewhere, or he didn't know, or he just didn't know what happened to her.
Correct.
That didn't surprise you at all, did it?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And I believe your partner mentioned the capital murder, and one of those punishments could possibly be the death penalty. But that's not something you guys even decide, right?
No.
Okay.
We don't.
Yeah, that's
We don't.
Dallas Police.
We don't do that.
And I mean, you're aware that that rarely happens here in Dallas County for our office to see the death penalty.
Correct.
Now, he didn't really bat an eye at that, did he?
No.
That didn't seem to bother him at all, did it?
No.
It was when you started talking about his daughters that he decided, and he changed, and he started telling you bits of the truth. Is that right?
Correct.
And you fully expect when you interview someone that you're not going to get all the truth at once.
Correct.
You're going to get bits. You're going to get pieces. I mean, that's just human nature, right?
Correct.
I mean, that's how most people, when they are confronted with evidence that their story ain't jiving, that's how they operate.
They do.
I mean, my teenager does it all the time. It's the same with Charles Beltran.
Correct.
So in this situation, you talk about his daughters, and then he starts telling you that he knows more about what happened in that room. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, I want to make a distinction.
Ms. Pittman, if you could mark your spot, it is time for our morning break.
Yes,
We will be at recess for 5 to 10 minutes.
All right.
Pam ti cael hwn?
Gweud helo i pawb de, achos mae eisiau blanced ni. Mae'n ôl nawr iawn, ar y seiliad, gwch chi dwylo fi.
Helo, mam. Fi'n bloody ffwrdd. Beth mam? Hwn. Ne?
Pwy sy'n ane?
Ne. Yw hwnna? Beth yw hwnna?
Pwy hwnna? Beth yw hwnna de? Pwy yw de? Ti'n gweud helo i Nwnia? Ti'n gweud helo Nwnia? Ie, Jonathan yw hwnna. Ie, Dylan yw e, ie.
A beth yw hwn?
Pobl. Ti'n gweud enw hwnna? Ti'n gweud Jonathan?
Jonathan.
Ti'n gweud helo Jonathan?
Hello, Jonathan.
Ti'n gweud helo Heather?
Hello, Heather.
Helo Tim?
Hello, Tim.
Helo Nwnia? Helo Nwnia, gwed?
Hello, Nonia.
Ie, helo Carol?
Hello, Carol.
Ie. Da iawn, ti'n trwio hwnna?
Hello, Dylan.
Helo!
Ti hwnna?
Ydw, fi fyna.
Jonathan.
Do i fi.
Hello, Dylan. Hello, Dylan.
Yay!
Fi'n on the cold.
Okay, demand it. She's going to be with us for a little bit.
Whoa.
She's going to wait with us for a little bit.
Mama peth hwn.
O, fan hyn. Ni'n siario yna, iawn? Ni'n siario yma. She's... So we'll listen to a bit with her. Hang on, I'll get the thing.
Sorry, Florida.
That's to be not all, fam.
Sorry, Florida.
Yes, to be not all. That's all. That's all.
That owned that plan that had the construction site coming in to the property to kind of top it off.
Ti'n gweud, hello Tracy.
Hello,
Tracy. I think it was next to them that was actually.
Gweud to, hello Jonathan.
Two areas there.
Hello, Jonathan.
I think she said hello to everyone now.
Where the body was
That's
located
here,
over
so-
there, Post Oak Road, or actually,
Yeah, we grabbed up- Last time we did this together,
2.5 mile drive.
hang on,
about 5 minutes.
don't mind me yet.
Okay.
Last time we did this together, we broke the headphones.
There at Post Oak
Like, she's too
Road,
cute for
I
me
mean,
not
both
to
sides
do
of
it.
the
Do you know what I
road,
mean?
There's kind of open
Yeah?
farmland on both sides.
Yes.
And then the
Watch it there.
location where a body was found, there was actually.
Hang on, Dylan i ddweud, yeah? Hang on, I've got to sort this out. 2 seconds. She's giving you all a shout out. So, hello Josie. Ti'n gweud hello, that sounds. Ti'n gweud hello Josie.
Hello, Josie.
Hey, hello Josie. She met Father Christmas for the first time today. Is this Santa Claus there? Be ges ti there?
Manny Bowling Mermaid.
Yeah, rhywbeth mermaid. Beth oedd rhywbeth mermaid?
Open pink.
Yeah, she got a gift from
Sugar corn.
Sean Corn, Father Christmas. So here we go now.
Actually, when
The
you're
window?
facing from the road, to the right is kind of open farmland area, correct?
Yes.
And then to the left, it's a kind of a wooded area.
Yes.
And that wooded area, I guess the culvert, there's a lot of brush and things that are grown up that kind of block the view of that wooded area.
Yes.
Okay. And it's just a short walk through that brush, and it's easy to get through that brush. We're not
Yes.
talking about briars and thorns. I mean, you can just walk through it easily.
Yes.
And it was just over that many of the remains were found. Is that correct?
Yes.
But you can't see that area from the road.
No.
Because of all the brush and all of that.
Correct.
As far as being able to walk in that area, was it that difficult to get to?
No.
Your understanding, so this is I-45 right here. Dallas is back this way, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so if you're traveling from Dallas or Mesquite area, you take I-45 this way, you exit Beltline Road. Thank you, Zach. You exit Beltline Road right here, and you take a left onto Beltline Road, and there is a little housing development right here on East Beltline Road. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's where 274 Turning Tree Road is, correct?
Yes.
And it is literally 2 turns. Go down Beltline, take a left, and you stop right there, and this is where that body was found.
Yes.
It states 395. Is this the area that you were talking about that you initially searched in at Fulgham Road?
Yes.
Okay, and so where this entrance, where would you park your vehicle?
We were the connect point. It's for the star, a little bit where the stars at. It's where we actually park.
Okay,
I mean, there's opening area there, but we actually went to the middle and then worked our way around.
Okay, is this where you park the vehicles?
Yes.
Okay, and that drive through there, is it all paved like a parking lot, or what was that drive?
It's kind of rough. It's gravel and cement area, so it's it's drivable, but it's not like paved.
Okay.
It's
And-
pressed down, I guess you would say.
Okay, and then is it pretty significant walk back into this area?
Yeah, some of the areas were actually water, like I said, had water, so they were actually making ways to actually put the trucks in to actually dump debris from the 35 construction to cover that area.
Okay. And I guess my point is, if 2 women are dumping a 5-foot-tall, 100-pound Hispanic woman, it would be a lot easier to do it right there off of Post Oak Road, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, that's totally feasible.
Yes.
I mean, Marisela wasn't heavy, was she?
No, ma'am.
I mean, she was tiny.
Yes.
And 2 women of bigger stature wouldn't have an issue taking that small body wrapped in a trash bag and taped with duct tape and just taking it just off the road and dumping it behind that brush.
Correct.
Now, you spoke to a number of people in your investigation, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you didn't get this case until December 8th of 2020, correct?
Correct.
And many of the tips that Mr. Harris asked you about, those were all received and investigated, and the officers had been sent out on those tips prior to you ever getting on the case, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're just reading their incident reports as to what happened, right?
Yes.
And that one that he mentioned about Orlando Brown, that wasn't the only person that said they saw someone similar to Marisela Botello.
Correct.
In fact, there was another tip where officers were sent out to a bus stop. Is that correct?
Correct.
And I believe the patron said that, I mean, it looked like her, it might be her, it's the same build, it's the same as a Hispanic female, the same size, maybe it's her, I don't know, correct?
Correct.
And you all were able to get information that the person who they saw actually purchased a bus ticket and wasn't Marisela Botello at all.
Correct.
So it's not like that these tips are panning out at all.
Right.
But people are following up on it.
Yes.
Now, the Mustang Inn and the City Inn, are you familiar with those 2 places?
Kind of. I know I think in Oak Cliff, if I'm mistaken.
Okay, and you know that those 2 places are like motels, and
Yes.
it's known drug houses and a lot of prostitution and things like that go on there.
Yes.
Is there any indication from Marisela's family members or friends or anyone that you talked to that would be a place that she would go?
That would not be a place for her to go.
I mean, she's never been to Dallas
No.
before. Would she even know how to get to these places?
She wouldn't.
And so you're trying, and people are trying to help, right?
Yes.
I mean, they're not trying to mislead you; they're trying to help.
Correct.
Do you know what picture they used to show Mr. Brown and the security guard Floyd Mitchell to say if this is Marisela Botello or not?
I didn't remember.
Okay, and you weren't a part of that, so you weren't there. You wouldn't know.
Correct.
Right? Mr. Hayes can answer that question for us.
Yes.
Sorry. Hello, Heather. Hello, Tracy. Hello, Josie. You all snuck in there. Sorry, when you got a little niece, you have to just give her attention. So she did give every single one of you a shout out. I hope you heard it clear. But she said all your names: Tim, Josie, Jonathan, Nunia, Heather, Tracy. I think she covered everybody. Carol's, everyone. So she gave you all a shout out. So that's your special Christmas present from me. So I hope you're all well out there. We'll get back to the trial now. I'm sorry about that, but when you've got a 3-year-old, what do you do? I'm sorry. She comes first, All right, Tim. All right.
But what you do know, when you get on the case in December 8th of 2020, you're desperately trying to find Lisa Dykes, you're desperately trying to find Nina Morano and Charles Beltran. Were you aware that Nina and Lisa Morano got new passports with their new last name on December 10th of 2020?
Yes,
So it doesn't appear that they're trying to be found.
correct.
You talk to people in Dallas, Charles Beltran's friends, Charles Beltran's, some of his girlfriends, correct?
Correct.
You talked to Miss Alvarez, Madeline Alvarez, right?
Yes.
She was very reluctant, wasn't she?
Yes.
In fact, he had told him that, we knew you went to New Orleans, who'd you go with? And he said, he kind of fumbled through and said Lisa. Did you believe the girl's name was Lisa?
No, ma'am.
I mean, you knew it was Madeline Alvarez at that time.
Yes.
And I mean, it's obvious that Madeline Alvarez didn't want her name involved in this at all,
Correct.
for whatever reason.
Correct.
She never indicated, though, that she was afraid personally of Mr. Beltran, was she?
If she said she was afraid,
Yeah, did she ever say she was afraid of Mr. Beltran doing something to her?
No.
Okay, so that wasn't her fear, was it?
right.
A lot of people don't want to get involved.
Correct.
Did you review some of the text messages from the phone that Lisa Dykes was using when she was arrested?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and it was clear in that, again, that she felt like a sitting duck,
Yes.
and she needed somebody to watch her back.
Correct.
She even indicated in a conversation that she needed, do you know who Kyle Williams is?
Yes, her son.
Okay, were you ever able to talk to Kyle Williams?
I tried to, never responded.
Okay, so Mr. Williams never responded to
No.
you. And you were aware that his girlfriend was Val Salinas, right?
Yes.
Okay. Were you aware in those messages that she's asking Kyle and Val, does Val speak Spanish?
Correct.
I'll let you know why I need to know that when I see you.
Correct.
Asking them to use their cards to reserve rooms.
Correct.
And they are driving from Dallas to her. To help her.
Correct.
Were you aware, did you learn in your investigation that Kyle Williams actually went to the home in Kensington after Lisa and Nina suddenly left and helped move furniture out?
Correct.
And you don't know where that furniture went?
No, ma'am.
In those text messages, did she ever indicate that she was concerned or worried about Nina Morano's well-being in jail after she got arrested, if you recall?
I don't recall.
But she was
Ever.
worried about getting her money, right?
Correct.
Now, after they were, Lisa and Nina were arrested in Florida, they were transported back here to Dallas. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and they were booked in here to the Dallas County Jail. Were you aware that they bonded out?
Yes.
And did Charles Beltran ever bond out?
No.
Okay. He actually was transported back from Utah and back here to Dallas as well, correct?
Correct.
And that process takes a while. So do you have any idea how long it was before he got back here?
It was probably a month, I think, maybe.
And that's about
Mhm.
standard
Yes, ma'am.
as far as getting people back and extradited from other states.
Yes.
And it took about the same for Lisa and Nina. Is that correct?
Correct.
What you didn't, so you knew that the Lisa and Nina had bonded out of jail and they were on house arrest.
Correct.
Means they're not supposed to leave the house without, except for, necessary reasons, medical, things of that nature.
Correct.
And what you couldn't predict, though, was that they were going to tamper with their leg monitoring device and flee to Cambodia.
Correct.
At the time that they were on bond, you can't talk to them, right?
No.
You can't go search their house, can you?
No.
You can't go get their devices and see what they're doing, can you?
Correct.
But after they fled to Cambodia on Christmas Day of 2021, just a few months after being arrested for this, you contacted the FBI and got some help.
Yes.
I mean, Dallas Police Department doesn't have the long arm of the law all the way into Cambodia to grab those people and bring them back, right?
Correct.
So the FBI got involved.
Yes.
you also know that the first parts, once the DA gets the case, and I believe both of these cases, Ms. Dykes' cases were indicted in June of 2022.
Yes.
I'm sorry, June of 2021.
21.
You're aware that those first few months, there's really not a lot going on in court as far as hearings and things of that nature.
Correct.
I mean, you were never called up to court,
No, ma'am.
right? You know, that process is just for the attorneys to kind of exchange information and discovery. And that initial discovery that you gave, you had given the DA's office all the instant reports of the follow-up tips that we just discussed, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the defense had that information back in 2021, as far as you know.
Yes.
Okay, this was not the photographs of Lisa and Nina's property and those types of some of the audio recordings of Marisela's friends and those types of things that were turned over later, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But nothing's going on during that time.
Correct.
In fact, if you come up to the courthouse frequently to testify on different matters and you know, check in with DAs and things like that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And a lot of times, I mean, you see, literally defense attorneys will walk in, hand a DA a pass slip, they'll sign it and say, we'll talk later, and that's their exchange for that day.
Pretty much, yes.
Now, at some point, are you communicating with the FBI while they are, I guess, trying to locate Lisa and Nina?
Yes. Trying to get as much information as we can.
Okay. And you learned that at some point they were located in a small coastal town in Cambodia, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And that they were arrested there in that small Cambodian town,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And you learned that they were arrested with several laptops, flash drives, SIM cards, cell phones, all those things.
Yes.
You carry 2 cell phones, one for work and one personal?
Yes.
Not 5?
No.
And when they were arrested, though, all those items were seized, correct?
Yes.
At some point, the FBI transferred those items back to you, and that was in probably June or July of 2022.
Around there. Yes.
Okay. And you requested fusion at some point, received search warrants, or I don't think you did, but somebody in Dallas Police Department got those search warrants signed, and all those devices went to the fusion unit for financial crimes to be analyzed. Is
Yes.
that correct?
Yes.
And you learned at some point that Lisa and Nina had a copy of Chuck's interview on their flash drive.
Yes.
And you know enough about court proceedings and the discovery rules that they're not supposed to have that, are they?
Correct.
But they had it in their possession on their flash drive.
Yes.
And it was just months after they bonded out, left Chuck in jail, that they fled to Cambodia.
Correct.
You are past the witness. Can you read your record?
Just so the members of the jury are clear, the first search that y'all did because of the cell phones pinging in that area, they didn't find anything, did they?
What do you mean?
The first search that y'all did out in that location, out in the Williams, in the Wilmer area.
Okay, so you're asking if we didn't find anything?
Yeah.
We were in as a body?
No, I'm saying,
I'm sorry.
what I'm asking is, the first search that was conducted in that area, because the phones were pinging, remember?
Okay, yes.
Y'all didn't find anything connecting to Marisela, correct?
No.
It was only after did y'all use the K9 dogs on the first search, you know?
I believe so. I know we used them twice, at least twice.
It was only after, I think the person that was setting the trap called y'all about the phones?
Yes.
And just so again, we're clear, when you know that in reference to the area where Marisela was subsequently found, they set up a memorial.
Yes.
And then even after y'all found the first set of bones, you had people that came back bringing y'all more bones, right?
It was a year after, about a year. Yes.
But y'all thought they were just animal bones, right?
Correct.
But then when we got them tested, we found out that they were actually human bones, right?
I believe so.
And not just human bones, but Marisela's bones, right? You remember that?
What was that?
The bones that you bought, that were in the box that people bought to you, we did DNA testing on that, right?
Okay.
You didn't know?
No. I know I requested it, yeah, but I'm not sure what the results were.
Is that because you were off the case at that time?
Yes.
But as far as that initial search, when they searched that whole area, they didn't find anything, correct?
The first search, are you referring to the plant area or where she was actually found?
They searched that area even when she was found, right? The
Yes.
first time.
But if you think first, these are two different times, so I want to make sure they're on the same page.
Okay, well, tell me again what you know about the searches.
But
Yeah,
what are
the
you,
first search, right?
yes, but you saying first search, what are you referring to?
I'm referring to when the FBI, all those guys went out there looking for evidence connected to this murder case.
Okay, so you're talking about the Post Oak location.
So the Post Oak location is different from where they actually found Marisela?
Post Oak is where they found her.
Okay.
I don't know if you're referring to the one on Pilgrim Road, so that's why I was asking which one.
So the
Hey Heather. Yeah, this is from yesterday. So basically, what we do here is because we do the Kariga murder trial, I can't do two at the same time, so I do this a day afterwards. So I'm streaming this. The live one that you're looking for should be up, I think, in about 20 minutes on Fox 4. So that should be live in about 20 minutes. I think they go live at 9:30 Central, but it could be now. So yeah, apologies. This is from yesterday. Because so today's stream that they're streaming, I'm streaming tomorrow, if that makes sense. So the next person up will be Lisa, because I've got the Kariga trial. So I do 4 streams a day, you see, trying to cover 2 trials, which is impossible at times. So you're not crazy at all. You're not crazy at all. You're not. So Lisa's coming up after this. But yeah, if you're watching live, Heather, I watch it from Fox 4. But yeah, just give you a heads up on that one. She's next on the stand, Dunya. Next on the stand. Yeah, today, and also confusing it. Yesterday she made the stand, and today she's taking the stand. No, you missed nothing. So we're not live. We're today's session. I'm streaming tomorrow. It's confusing. I know it's confusing. My bad. My bad.
initial,
Because they helped,
right, so the initial one didn't include Post Oak, is that what you're saying?
Okay, there's 2 different searches. Okay, one at the plant where the phone's pinged, as far as the information, we searched there. And then after someone called and said that there was remains found, then we went there afterwards.
But you keep saying, well, the phone's ping, that's just, that tower not only pings at that location, it pings at other locations
No,
in that area, right?
But what I was asking is to see which one were you referring to when you said search.
Okay, well, let's
You know what I mean?
yeah, I understand, but let's talk about you, again, telling members of the jury that they phones pinged at that area. That area is only one of many locations that those phones pinged off in that one area.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Is that like, that's all I have, thank you.
Any recall? No, Your Honor. May this witness be finally excused?
No objection, Judge.
No objection, no state, Your Honor. All right, thank you. You're free to leave.
Thank
Go
you.
back to business. All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, it is now almost 12:15. We will go ahead and break for lunch.
This is another benefit of this trial. You can just skip ahead then,
Good afternoon.
which is good.
You'll please stop and raise your right and nothing but the truth to help you God.
Yes, ma'am.
You may be seated. Thank you.
Mhm.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Would you please state your name and your occupation?
Name is William Hayes, Officer William Hayes, badge number 11526, police officer with the Dallas Police Department.
How long have you been a police officer with Dallas PD?
Going on a little bit over 5 years.
On October 13th, 2020, what was your position with Dallas PD at that time?
I was working in Channel 7 as a regular patrol officer.
And do you remember receiving a call for service at 1117 Betterton Circle in Dallas County, Texas?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was that call concerning?
That was a health and wellness call.
And what did you do, Officer Hayes?
So we immediately, proceed to the location. So as we're going to the location, that's when we start getting the background information on the actual health and wellness call.
What background information were you receiving?
We were receiving information on Ms. Botello, and about how she was missing, and basically checking up on this area. The area which we were checking happened to be a known drug house in the area, so we kind of proceeded with caution, and that's when we started to receive other information about the residents being watched.
Did you make it to 1117 Betterton Circle?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you make contact with anyone there?
Yes.
Who did you make contact with?
Two brothers. One was Octavius Brown. Another one was William Brown.
And did you have an opportunity to talk to either of the Brown brothers?
Yes.
And in that discussion with the Brown brothers, what did y'all talk about?
So the first discussion that I had was with, I believe, it was either William or Octavius. I can't really recall right now, but that discussion was about Ms. Botello. I showed him the picture. So let me give you a rewind. So as we go to the house, he's kind of talking to me through the door. So he steps out. So I show him the picture. I'm like, have you seen this young woman? We're searching for this young woman right now. And that's when he made a reference to saying that he saw this young lady 2 weeks ago over at the Shell gas station. And that's when I said, no, that's impossible, because, she hasn't been here for that long at the moment. That's when his brother intervened, and he started to tell us about about her being over at the Mustang Inn. So had a little short discussion about that. And as we're leaving the residence, I looked to my right because there's a big lot over next door to the house. So there were 3 individuals that were in that lot. There was a Shelly Smith, a Melinda Smith, and I believe a Mr. Escobedo. So I asked them the same question. I said, hey, have you seen this young lady? And they were like, we possibly saw her. We saw her. And I'm like, have you seen her or have you not seen her? And that's when they're like, yeah, we saw her. I said, okay. And they told me she likes to hang out at the Mustang Inn as well. So from there, that's when we proceeded to the Mustang Inn. As we're at the Mustang Inn, I encountered Miss Smith and Mr. Escobedo again. And I asked them a follow-up question one more time. Have you seen this young lady? They're like, well, I think she likes to hang out at the City Inn, which is not too far from Mustang Inn. So I said, okay, we'll proceed over there. Once we got to the City Inn, I noticed that they had a security officer over there.
Did you make contact with that security?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And who was that security guard?
Security officer's name was a Mr. Floyd Mitchell.
Okay, and let me stop you for a moment,
Mhm.
Officer Hayes. Back in October of 2020, where you issued a body camera.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you have the body camera on you on this date?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Was the body camera activated when you made contact with these various witnesses?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you met with a Floyd Mitchell, who was the security officer at the City Inn.
Correct.
Okay. And when you talked to Mr. Mitchell, did you activate your body camera?
Yes.
So when you talked to Mr. Mitchell, what did you ask him?
Pretty much the same questions that I asked everyone else. Have you seen this young woman? She's been missing, and do you have any information?
Did you have a picture or anything to show Mr. Mitchell?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Did you show Mr. Mitchell this picture?
Yes.
What did Mr. Mitchell do and say when you showed him the picture?
He said he recognized her and he saw her. Said that he saw her the night previously.
So that would have been October 12th?
Somewhere around there. Yep.
Okay. And what did you do next?
That's when I asked Mr. Mitchell, was it possible if we could, search the motel? The motel in the City Inn is set up in tiers, so it's not just like you go in here and it's like one floor. Type of thing. It's set up in tiers, so we proceeded to, search the knock on the hotel motel door. Excuse me. to see and ask residents if they saw this young woman, which no one did. So when we get down to the like it's like a little like a vestibule type of entry area. I asked Mr. Mitchell, can we, possibly speak to the manager? Manager had no recollection of this young woman being there. So I'm like, okay. And then from there, we got a little bit more information from Mr. Mitchell saying that, she left that location and went down to the Valero gas station, which isn't too far from the CN.
Did you, well, before we get to Valero,
Mhm.
when Mr. Mitchell told you he saw her,
Mhm.
did he appear to be credible in his belief that he saw her there
Yes.
the night before?
Yes.
And what do you base that upon?
I just base it off of, how he was giving me information. One, he was very clear, very adamant that he saw her. Also as a security guard, he sees a lot of people going in and out. So when I showed him the picture, I was pretty sure that, he possibly saw her.
Okay. So then you went to the Valero based
Mhm.
off of what Mr. Mitchell told you.
Correct.
Okay. And what happened when you got to the Valero gas station? And is this the Valero gas station located at 300 South Marsalis Avenue?
Correct.
Okay.
So we go inside the Valero, talk to a couple of the workers at the Valero, asked them, have they seen this woman? They said no. So after we got that information, we walked outside. There was a couple of homeless people that like to hang out over there. So naturally, I went over there and asked them because, they see pretty much everything and they had no recollection of seeing her at that location as well.
Okay. But you showed everyone a picture of her.
Mhm.
Okay. You'll have to say yes or no.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And basically, it sounds to me, Officer Hayes, is that you were following up, doing your job, following up with each lead that you had in trying to find Marisela Botello.
Correct.
Now, the body cam video that you had on and that you activated during these encounters with the witnesses, including Mr. Mitchell, what's the process once your shift is over? What do you do with that body cam video?
So immediately after our shift is over, if we're not using it for reference for reports, we dock our body cam right in. There's a docking area at every one of the stations. So as soon as you are done with your shift, you're in the tour, you go ahead and you dock your body camera.
And what does it mean when you dock your body camera?
Dock your body camera means that you load it up in a specific area so that information is processed through the accident.
And the detective assigned to this case would have received your body cam videos.
Correct.
We pass the witness, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor. Officer Hayes, how long have you been a police officer again? I'm sorry.
A little over 5 years.
Okay, and at this time you were just on patrol, you said in, is it Beat 7?
Channel 7. That's
Channel 7.
yes.
Okay, what area is that?
That's South Oak Cliff.
Okay, and now you work down in Deep Ellum, is that right?
Correct.
What do you do down in Deep Ellum?
I'm part of the Deep Ellum Task Force.
Okay, and as part of the Deep Ellum Task Force, you guys just, I guess, having more police presence down in that location.
Correct.
And you work 6 p.m. to, what's your shift?
So my shift is Thursday through Saturday, 6 p.m. to 4 a.m. On Sunday, we come in at 4 p.m. and we're off at 2 a.m.
Okay, and Deep Ellum, I mean, it's known for a lot of bars and restaurants and things of that nature.
Correct.
And in fact, they're kind of, I guess, making an attempt, and Dallas is making an attempt, because that's a very, very popular hangout location to, one, increase security, and also, I guess, have new businesses and bars and things like that.
Correct.
Okay, make it a more enjoyable experience for everybody, a safer experience, all of those things. Okay. Now, at this time, you were working down in South Oak Cliff, is that right?
Correct.
And when you got a call for a welfare check, that wasn't from an individual. Like the Brown brothers didn't call you out there for a welfare check.
No, ma'am.
In fact, several officers were sent out, responding officers, patrol officers like yourself, to just check various locations that maybe a young person might go to if they just didn't want to go home.
Correct.
Okay, and this is one of those areas that you just went and checked.
Correct.
At the direction of a sergeant.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now you stated that the original location that you checked, that's a known drug house, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And that made you kind of proceed with a little bit of caution.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Willie Brown and Orlando Brown, they, one of the brothers, and you're not sure which one, came out and talked to you for a little bit.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall them saying that this person was, that they saw, was hanging out and had asked for $2?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you knew that, again, you knew this was to be a drug house, a place known for people coming up and purchasing drugs from that location, right?
Yes.
Okay. And at that point, you showed the picture, and were they 100% certain or just kind of certain that they saw her?
They were certain.
Okay. And Your Honor, approach. Okay. Stage 3, is this the photograph that you showed him?
Yes.
Okay. And in that photograph, this individual, Marisela Botello, she's wearing like a purple dress, right?
Correct.
And it looks like a common dress you might see a young lady of that size and stature wearing down in Deep Ellum, right?
Correct.
Okay. And to be fair, the area that you are searching in these hotels, the City Inn, the Mustang Inn, I mean, they're known for prostitution and drugs and things of that nature, right?
Correct.
Did you have any background information about Marisela other than the fact that she was supposed to go back to Seattle?
No background information. All the information that we received was on our way to that call.
Okay, so it's just a photograph that she was supposed to be back in Seattle on the 5th and she didn't show up.
Correct.
Okay, so you didn't know that she had a family waiting for her back at home.
Absolutely not.
You didn't know that she had a stable home life.
No.
You didn't know that she more than likely had to go to work as an assistant manager of the Charlotte Russe in Seattle on Tuesday.
No.
You didn't know that she had several family or friends in Seattle that were very concerned about the fact that her social media and her phone contact had completely stopped.
Correct. No.
You didn't know that she had a bank account full of money.
No.
A person with a bank account full of money doesn't need to borrow $2, do they?
Sure don't. No.
This area, the City Inn and the Mustang Inn, like you said, I mean, it's known for prostitution and drugs and things of that nature.
Correct.
The person that I just described to you, that background information, does that sound like a person that is going to be hanging out in that area?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Your Honor, may I approach? I'm showing you it's been marked States Exhibit 396 and 397. Are those photographs of both the City Inn and the Mustang Inn?
This is the City Inn right here. Right here looks like an updated version of the Mustang Inn, but yes.
Okay. And States 396, that's the one that's the City Inn, and the 397 is the Mustang Inn, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you said updated version. Does that look like it has had a paint job since you went out there?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, State moves to admit States 396 and 397 for all purposes. Enter into defense counsel.
No objection.
All right. States exhibits 396 and 397 are admitted for all purposes. Permission to publish, Your Honor. You may. It states 396. This is the City Inn. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and that's just located. Is it just right off of 67? Or
No, 35.
35, right before 35 and 67 split.
Correct.
Okay. And this is the Mustang Inn. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Is that near that same location?
Up the street, yes, ma'am.
Up the street. So we're not talking about a nice hotel, you know, a Hilton or a Marriott or anything like that.
No, ma'am.
And for a person that's never been to Dallas, it seems like that would be a very unusual place to go spend your time.
Correct.
The people that you talk to, I mean, they're trying to help, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you been out on calls like this where you're just trying to locate somebody?
Yes, ma'am.
And I mean, it's common for people to give tips that just don't pan out, right?
Correct.
And you never talk to these people about, hey, this girl's name is, you know, did you, let me back up. You never asked these people, did you talk to her? Did you ask her about her background? Did you ask her where she was from? You didn't have that conversation with these
No, ma'am.
people.
No, ma'am.
And of the people that may have seen her, the Brown brothers that live in the drug house said, yeah, we think we saw her. And then Floyd Mitchell, who works security, right?
Correct.
And it's fair to say that there's a large population of 5 foot tall, early 20s, Hispanic female, about 100 pounds. I mean, that demographic is quite common.
Correct.
And the vast majority of those have long dark hair.
Correct.
And it's quite possible that these individuals just trying to help didn't see Marisela Botello, but saw someone very like her.
Correct.
That's the witness.
Redirect, Your Honor.
You may.
But that didn't keep you from doing your job, which was to follow up on these leads, because you didn't know about Marisela's background, correct? You didn't know that a week earlier, she left the Deep Ellum area with some man she did not know to go do drugs.
Correct.
Okay. And let me ask you this about people using drugs and then also people being forced into possible human trafficking. It's not unusual for people from all different backgrounds for that to happen to.
Correct.
Okay. And when these things happen, they're not going to be at the Omni Hotel, usually, correct?
Correct.
You're going to find them in the more seedier parts of town.
Yes.
But you didn't know anything that led up to Marisela's disappearance. All you knew was that this was a a wellness check,
Mhm.
health and
Health and
safety,
wellness. Mhm.
health and wellness check, and you were following up doing your job.
Correct.
And you did your job properly.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Pass the witness, Your Honor.
No further questions, Your Honor. May this witness be finally excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
No objection from the state. Thank you, sir. You're free to use the back.
Thank you, ma'am.
Call your next witness.
We call Floyd Mitchell, Your Honor.
I just don't like it. You know, whatever you think of defendant, the fact I now know how much of a cock up they've made of this investigation, I don't think I could convict her. I don't think I could vote guilty. Oh yeah, anyway.
Good afternoon, sir. If you would please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes.
Thank you. You may be seated. You may proceed.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. Okay, Mr. Mitchell, would you please state your name?
Floyd Mitchell,
And Mr. Mitchell, back in October of 2020, what did you do for a living?
security,
Where did you work security at?
the front gate,
Where?
at City Inn.
And where is City Inn located?
It's 35 in Eden.
And is that in Dallas?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what type of motel is City Inn?
Yeah, it's a tough motel.
It's a what?
It's kind of a drug motel.
It's a drug motel.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Mr. Mitchell, on October 13th, 2020, do you remember talking to a Dallas police officer about a missing person?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What do you remember about that?
I just told him I had seen him around the day,
Around which day?
12, something like that. I think it was.
Around October 12th,
Yeah.
2020?
Uh-huh.
Did the police officer show you a picture?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And in the picture, may I approach? Yeah. Mr. Mitchell, is this the picture that you remember the police officer showing you
Yeah,
on the 13th?
Yeah.
Okay. And when the officer asked you if you had seen this young lady, what did you tell the officer?
I had seen him at that date when she came through the building.
And were you for sure? Were you adamant that you had seen her?
Yeah, I seen him, but I seen him that day, but that's the only time I ever seen him.
That's the only time you ever saw her?
Yeah.
Okay, and what hours did you work back then, Mr. Mitchell?
10 in the evening to 5 o'clock in the morning.
Did you tell the officer anything else about this young lady?
No.
You don't remember telling the officer that you saw her walking towards Valero gas station?
Oh, yeah, I did.
And I understand this was about 3 years. It
Yeah, I
was
know.
quite a while ago.
Yeah.
So you do remember telling the officer you saw her going to Valero gas station?
Uh-huh.
But this was the first and the last time you ever saw her?
Yeah.
Okay. Pass the witness, Your Honor.
Proximity. Briefly, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Mitchell. How are you?
I'm fine.
Good. Thank you for being here. I just had a few questions about your interaction with this person that you saw, okay? And a little bit about your time at the City Inn, okay?
Okay.
You described this as a drug hotel, is that correct? Or a drug motel?
Yeah.
And you have a lot of traffic in and out of there, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, you have a lot of different individuals that come in on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
Over the course of just say a month in October, I mean, you may have hundreds of different individuals that you're seeing walking around the City Inn, coming in, checking in, things like that. It's also known for prostitution, things like that.
Yeah.
Okay, and there's a large population of young Hispanic females that come through there. Is that right?
Yeah.
You know, small in stature, pretty girls.
No, they average.
Average.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you know, on this particular case or in this particular situation, this officer, you know, came and asked you about the girl in that picture, right?
Yeah.
And had you seen a young Hispanic girl in a purple dress that day?
The day, maybe not. See, once they come through, when I'm at the gate, if they not living there, we have to, you know, what they trying, we won't let them in the gate unless they walking with somebody.
Okay. Was this person walking with somebody?
When we came through, we tried to, like I said, turn around because she wasn't with nobody.
Okay. And did you talk to her?
All we just said, you don't, do you have room here? That's what we know after. They said no. We tell them they can't come on after 10 o'clock. They can't come on the property.
And was this late when this person was there?
Yeah.
Okay. But you didn't ask her name or where
No.
she's from or anything like that?
No.
And as far as what your conversation with the officer, did he give you any information about the girl that he was looking for?
He just said they were looking for her.
Okay, he didn't tell you that she was had been in Seattle or came from
I
Seattle?
can't remember, he did not, but he said they were looking for her.
Okay. And then you pointed him over to the Valero. Were you aware that none of the people at the Valero remember seeing that girl? That
Cause most of, when they come to there, that's most where they go.
Okay. I don't have any other questions, Your Honor.
Any redirect?
Nothing else from him, Your Honor.
Okay, this witness be fine. Excuse.
No objection from the state, Your Honor.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Mitchell, please watch your step getting down from the witness
Okay.
stand. You are free to leave. Go about your business, sir.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. I will lose it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we need to send you back to the jury room, but we should have you back.
So now we have the defendant, her cell phone. So watch this for about an hour now, hour and a bit. This is Lisa Dykes.
All right, we're ready.
Lisa Dykes. YouTube's pissing me off because it keeps stalling. 5, 6. That sounds about right. Then we'll play the rest then during lunchtime of the Krieger trial. So I think it works out quite nicely today. Mother. There's no Sarah P today. No Sarah P. Mother. This is going to get on my tits if it stalls all the time. Let me just refresh it. 4:46, 46. Now let me. Great.
We're ready.
All right.
All right. Let me just try again to see. Ah, damn you. 'Tis the world that we live in.
All right.
Right, hang on then. Let me try to stop screening and then see. Dee, dee, dee. Dee, 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 dee. Let's see what Lisa Dykes, what she's got to say. Yes. Yes.
Call your next witness.
Judge, ladies and gentlemen, you'll recall Ms. Lisa Dykes.
All right, Ms. Dykes, if you would please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do, Your Honor.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you, Judge.
Mr. Harris, you can move the TV onto the floor if it would be easier.
No, Judge, I'm just gonna swing over this way.
Jonathan will be back now.
Go ahead,
Jonathan, oh.
My name is Lisa Dykes.
and, can I approach Judge?
You may.
You have a very soft voice. I want you to make sure you keep your voice up and speak into the microphone, okay?
Yes, sir.
So the members of the jury can hear everything you have to say. Can you do that for me?
Of course.
We heard a lot of what Charles Beltran, Chuck 50 had to say, and now it's your opportunity, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. But before we go into the things that Chuck testified to, I want to talk about you first. Can you tell members of the jury how old are you?
I am 60 years old.
I was hesitating because you're not supposed to tell me how old they are.
No, that's perfectly okay.
To be fair, she looks very good for 60 years old. She looks very good for 60.
60 years old.
All right. Ms. Dykes, let's talk about, we heard a lot about you being I guess, paralegal. Tell them, where were you born?
I was born in Somerset, Kentucky.
Okay. And at some point, we're not gonna go over your whole history, all their husbands, how many husbands you had?
I've had 3 husbands, and then of course I'm married to Nina.
Okay. Maybe,
Don't be jealous, don't you?
relationships you kind of want to forget about?
I would like to forget about all 3 of the relationships with the men that I've been married to, quite frankly.
Okay. Let's fast forward. Let's just get to the point. You were working at the time in, let's talk about 2020. Let's start there.
Okay.
But before we do that, I did want to briefly talk about your children as well.
Yes, sir.
How many kids do you have?
I have 3.
And what are your children name?
Chelsea, who's 40.
And the state talked about her earlier, right?
Yes, he did.
Okay, who else?
Aaron, who's 39,
Mhm.
and Kyle, who's 34.
All right. As far as them being present here, do you have concerns for their safety?
Absolutely. I would not want them and don't want them exposed to having the same issues that Marisela experienced. Chuck is a violent man, and I don't want anything to happen to them.
Okay. And in fact, we'll talk about that, but I also want the members of the jury to understand that before you met Charles Beltran, you had a life, right?
Absolutely. I have a good life. I had a good life.
And everyone is trying, or it seems like the witnesses that have testified are making it seem like you were dependent on me.
No, that's actually not true. I've been a litigation paralegal for 34 years. So I was at a glass ceiling in my income. Nina actually made about the same amount of money that I did, and she's an attorney. So I was making quite a good salary at what I did.
Okay.
Like I do the litigation work, so it pays well.
Okay. As far as Nina, what type of attorney was she?
Nina was actually working for the city of New York. So she was working for a governmental agency, which doesn't pay as well as private sector. Anyway, so she was working for the city of New York doing housing work. So she did in a different area of law than me too. So it's not the same. It's not similar.
Okay. And just while we're on the subject, Nina, they said that she was married to William or Bill.
Yes.
He subsequently passed.
He did.
When Bill passed, where were they living?
They weren't living in Pennsylvania, as you've heard before. Nina and Bill had a house that was in Staten Island. That house was way overfinanced and upside down. Basically, is the best way to describe that house. The house that was in Pennsylvania was a house that Nina bought and paid for, and she paid $60,000 for the house.
Okay, now
So
when you
that-
say the house that was in Pennsylvania,
Mhm.
that wasn't the house that her and Bill lived in, right?
No, they paid very little money for this house. That was a 4-bedroom house, 4-bedroom, 3-bath. But the house was in poor condition, so they would only go there. Nina would go sometimes by herself on the weekend, but she didn't live there. They did not reside there.
Okay, the other interesting thing, that house was in the same neighborhood that her parents were in.
It was a budding, so it was exactly like the lots almost met. From the upstairs bedroom window, Nina's bedroom window, you could see Nina's mom and dad's house. So it was right there.
Okay, and I just want to briefly touch base on that. As far as Nina and her parents, she didn't have a good relationship with her parents, right?
They had been alienated from the time Nina was like 15 or 16. They spoke, but it was very seldom, and they were not close. And this was something that gave Nina a lot
of concern. She was emotionally, like, very much wanting to have that family back. So one of the reasons that she bought this house was so that she would be able to see them and possibly reconnect.
All right, did y'all invest a lot of money in that house?
Yes. Nina had decided to put the house on the market in like April or maybe even March before she and I got married. So she couldn't afford to borrow the money because she was upside down at the house in Staten Island. She was trying to sell it so that we could get out from underneath that mortgage because it was large. So she couldn't afford to fund the money or to borrow the money to fix this house to put it on the market. So whenever we got married, one of the first things that I did was fly up there and we borrowed the money so that we could fix the house, put it on the market, and sell it.
Okay, and I'm going over all that because this notion that you were with her just for her money, is that true?
No, absolutely not. Like, we both brought money to the table. God blessed us both in being able to make a good living. And it was something that the marriage made us more solid financially. But I didn't need Nina to pay bills. Nina didn't need me to pay bills. We're together primarily because we actually love each other. I've known Nina for 16 years today. I knew Nina for 13 years before we got married. So we had been best friends that whole time.
All right, and I want to get to the point, but I also want to make sure the jury understands, as far as Nina's relationship with Bill, it wasn't a good relationship, was it?
It was a horrible relationship. He was abusive. He did all kinds of things like stalking her in the area where she was staying. When they split and separated, Nina stayed in Pennsylvania. But Bill was like you had heard testimony before, he was parking on the street behind the house. So he was watching her in that house in Pennsylvania.
All right, and the only reason I'm making reference to, because you got two women who basically had bad history with Nina.
Very, very.
And at some point, y'all befriend each other, fall in love.
Well, we love each other. We love each other like sisters. Like, this is a unique relationship. I think we might think about marriage, Nina and I do, maybe differently than the average person. Not every marriage is based on sex or, that physical connection. Nina and I are supportive of each other in every way other than that. Like, we love each other like a sister. We love each other, like, truly. Like, anything that Nina's going through, I want to help her with that. Anything I'm going through, Nina wants to help me with that.
Okay, let me stop you there because I want to make sure we continue to move on. But I mean, that's very important.
Yes.
But this, y'all made a decision to, after y'all got married, to go by Lisa and Nina Beltran. Can you explain to the members of the jury how that decision came about?
Yes. My last name is slang, basically. A dyke is slang for a gay woman. And it would be just a horrible name for us to take as a last name for us. Pennsylvania allows you to change your name to any name that you choose to whenever you get married. So when we looked at the names that we wanted to take as the last name, Dykes is right out of the picture. So Morano is not really a name that we wanted to take because of her relationship with Bill. So we looked at other names of people that were around us or names that were of interest. And Beltran was an interesting name. It means raven in Spanish, and it has a history, and it was a better name. We asked Chuck if he had a problem with us taking it. It was not in any kind of connection to him, but it was just a name that appealed to both of us, so we took that name.
So you didn't take that name because y'all were obsessed with Charles Beltran?
Absolutely not.
All right, let's move forward. I wanted to talk to you about you abruptly leaving your employer. Was it abrupt?
I had problems with my employer, yes, from certain standpoint issues of bonusing.
Okay, when you say bonusing, basically you as a paralegal are doing all the work, because this was car wreck cowboy stuff, right?
Yes.
These are car wrecks.
Yes.
You were working these cases.
Absolutely.
But he's making all the money.
Absolutely.
And were there other cases that you were working on with him as well?
Yes. In particular, we started to have an issue with a case that I had brought in, and I brought it in from my contact. It was a case that was wrongful death. And in personal injury, wrongful death cases settle for a considerable sum of money. Like, one of the bonusing structures that we had when we brought these cases in was a percentage of the settlement, right? This particular case settled for $3 million, a little over that.
Okay, let me stop you there, just so members of the jury know. Who did you get that case from?
A friend of mine, contact of mine, and she testified here. Her name was Catherine DeLeon.
The hairdresser.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
she didn't get as much money as she thought she should get out of it.
She surely did not.
All right, but anyway, the bottom line is you were having issues with you making all the money, or you making all the money, but
This is the defendant, Josie, Lisa Dykes. So this is the defendant herself taking a stand.
the attorney getting all the money.
Yes, and not paying the percentage of bonus that I should receive.
And during this time period, this early October, late September, did you have plastic surgery?
I did.
We have medical records to support that, don't we?
Yes, you do.
All right. As a result of the plastic surgery, were you on medication for pain?
Yes, I definitely was.
And did that affect your employment?
It did.
In what way?
I couldn't be there, which was essential. I was at that point in time doing the negotiations for the firm. So if I couldn't make my nut, which that's a strange term, but if I couldn't meet the quota of settlements that we had, like the money for payroll was going to come out of saved money back. So I needed to be there with the surgery. I could not be there like I needed to be. And I also, like, my focus wasn't as good as it should be whenever you're taking payments like hydrocodone, which I was taking at the time.
Okay. And did that have a lot to do with you eventually leaving?
It did.
All right. As far as your this surgery, tell them the jury what type of surgery you had to do.
There were 2 procedures that I had done, and it was a wedding gift for Mina. So I'll tell you that. Like, I had lost a considerable amount of weight, so I had extra skin. Is the easiest way to explain it, and no tightness like in my thighs in particular. So I had a procedure done on both legs called a thighplasty. And in that procedure, a triangle of flesh is actually cut out in the center part of the leg and then stitched back together to make your leg tighter and smoother, right? And I also had a lower facelift done because I had extra skin here. So I had both procedures done at once.
Okay. Were these procedures extremely painful?
They were. My thighplasty ended up being a failed procedure. It didn't do what it was supposed to do. Whenever he took the skin and tissue out, he took out too much. So when he closed it back, that first day it was okay while I was still in the facility. And it was a plastic surgery center that had an in-house like hospital kind of setting. So you stayed that day and then you were released home the next day. The very first day I went home, all of the sutures started popping out, first in the left leg and then in the right. And it was immediate. So it was first like 3 or 4, and then it was 5, and then all of them. So I called the doctor. He told me to come back. I had to actually get an Uber to go back because Chuck was supposed to have been available to help take care of my son because Nina was in trial work. So I didn't want her to lose the trial work in New York. It should have been an easier procedure than what it was, but the complications happened.
All right. And as far as the complications that you're referring to, do we in fact have some photos of that?
You do.
Here's my photo. I got one. Let me show you what's marked as defense.
Yeah, I don't want to see these photos.
These are medical records that we put on file with the court.
This is a nightmare. This stop, start. Fucking hell.
And will they assist you in testifying to the members of the jury the extent of the injury that you had during that time period?
Yes.
And the Uber ride back to the doctor's office that you're referring to happened when?
The very first day post the surgery. So it was the first day I was home.
So that would have been what day?
I think the surgeries were performed. I'm sorry, I can't hear. I think the surgeries were performed like on September 10th, I think. So it had been September the 11th.
Okay, so September the 11th. Can you show me what Judge Offer was marked as defense team?
No, Judge. Defense exhibit number 10 is admitted for all purposes.
Thank you, Judge. Now, I promise you I wouldn't publish these,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
But
I apologize in advance. They're not pretty.
but if anyone has any questions about the extent of the injuries you had to your thighs, these photos depict that, do they not?
Absolutely.
And even in October, I think we made reference to you guys going to to Arkansas. Were you having issues with your legs at that time?
Yes.
All right, and I wanted to ask you specifically about the trip to Arkansas. How'd y'all end up going to Arkansas?
The trip to Arkansas was unplanned. Whenever I had this procedure initially done, Dr. Armijo had told me that the surgery my legs would be the best they were going to be at 3 weeks. So this was exactly 3 weeks post the surgery, right? So Nina and I had planned to go to California. We had tickets to fly to Los Angeles for that weekend, for October 4th.
Were you able to fly to Los Angeles?
No,
Why not?
I had a doctor's appointment with Dr. Armijo that Friday before this weekend. He told me absolutely under no circumstance should I fly. So they were that bad that I couldn't really travel by plane with them, because plane and the pressure in the plane itself was going to cause that to be a lot worse. It would increase bleeding. It would increase the difficulties that I was having with it and worsen them.
Okay. But as far as the incisions, what is this photo I'm looking at right here?
That's actually open fat tissue because there was no skin. I had none. Like the skin there wasn't enough to cover the wound. So the actual incision started to open in the beginning on the first day. And there's actually pictures of that too.
Okay, so this reflects what?
This is what it's like. And there's still, you can see on the edge a few of the sutures that were left. Those actually were completely gone.
Commissioner Public Judge. Now, Ms. Dykes, you're not saying that on October 1st your leg was opened up like this, right?
Oh, it was.
It was?
It was, yes.
Okay.
Like I had started to use, I had to use special bandaging for this and special wound treatment. So there's a particular chemical called hydroferrous blue that's on like a sponge bandage that I had to order through my plastic surgeon for it to be applied to grow skin. So I still had no skin at that time.
Okay, so but you had bandages on them
I did. I had to change them frequently, but I had them.
because they were bleeding.
They would bleed and they would also weep serous fluid. So it would weep white blood cells.
All right. Now, as far as, can you explain to the members with the court's permission, can you explain to the members of the jury where your injuries were?
They're exactly in the groin. Like it's right at the top. Like they make a Y incision at the top of your groin, and then it goes all the way down the inside of your leg to a couple of inches above your knee. The place where I had no skin was right in the crotch. Right
in this area.
Right there. Yep.
And would you have to have that bandage?
There were 4 layers that had to go on.
All right, all the way down.
Yep. To cover it to about 2 inches, 3 inches above your knee.
Okay. But again, if they want to see the extent of what this surgery, the damage, what is this I'm looking at here?
That's actually the wound as it's starting to grow some skin.
Okay. So, but when would this be? That's what it looks like without the bandage?
Yeah. That's what it looks like without the bandage after it started to actually smooth out just a little. And this is all brand new skin and serous fluid.
Okay. So, in the beginning of October, do these pictures accurately reflect what your wound would have looked like post-surgery?
They do.
Commissioner Publisher.
Right.
And I guess because these are open wounds, that's why you were taking the hydrocodone for the pain?
On a scale of 1 to 10, I used to think having a baby was 10, right? With this particular injury, where this was and pain factor involved, this is a 10 and having a baby is 5.
Okay.
So that gives you an idea of what that was in dealing with it.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, because of this surgery, what about the face?
The face was still an issue. Like I wasn't supposed to bend over. Like you can't really bend over like this whenever you've got like surgery to the lower part of your face. The pain from it was not as bad. I was a little surprised that my ear wasn't attached on the right side whenever I came home. So I had a few things going on with that, and the wounds were still raw and open. But
remember the October picture that the, oh Lord. Have one moment, John. keep these in order so you can kill me. Why was your hair pink like that?
You
Do you
know,
recall?
I do kind of recall that. Like I was looking for something fairly lively, and Kat actually picked that color out for me.
So when you say cat, you're referring to the hairdresser, right?
Catherine DeLeon.
On the photo that she put that they were using, and she was testifying to you in the pink hair.
Yes, sir.
That photo actually shows the injuries that you're referring to. Doesn't it?
It does.
Tracing points marked as states exhibit number 86.
Yes.
Okay. Where do you see the? I guess.
It's right at the hairline right here.
And this is what you're referring to here.
The scar that went right there, and also there's a scar back here you can see.
Right. Okay.
And then I had another one under my chin, and I think you can see a little bit of that.
Okay. I'm just gonna publish,
may.
So you're talking here,
Here, right here. Yes.
and then in the back here,
Right there. Yep. And then under
this
my,
area.
under my chin, there's a stitch. You can see it.
And you can see that if you really look closer, you can see the stitches
Mhm.
in your chin, right?
Yes, sir.
And so you're not only dealing with the facelift surgery, you're dealing with your thighs as well.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that affects your work performance, correct?
It did.
I mean, it affects your activity, period.
Affected everything.
Well, the doctor told you it might do that, right?
He did.
And so, as far as a lot of the restrictions you had, you definitely had restrictions, or you should have been watching what you lift.
You couldn't lift anything at all.
And why is that?
Because it could cause, on a normal surgery, even lifting was prohibited because it could cause all of this to come loose again as far as the facelift goes. And it would also cause strain in your thighs and cause them to open too. That's not the reason mine did, but it could cause that complication.
All right. Before we start talking more about Charles Beltran, I did want to, these people talk about you basically like you had a midlife crisis or something like that. Remember Jimmy, your brother Jimmy,
Yes.
saying that?
Yes.
All right, can you talk about the blood clot problems you had before you met Charles Beltran?
Yes, sir, I can. In my 40s, I had an unusual medical condition that popped up. Like I'm really driven to work. Like I've raised 3 kids by myself. So me working is just always been who I am. It's how I relate to life, I guess. So I work more than I should. But I had been working a lot, so I ended up having a very unusual aortic blood clot.
Now, aortic blood clots, what are those?
The aorta sits right underneath the heart, right? So it's under here. So this means that the blood clot had to pass literally through my heart and lodge in this particular area of the body, which is what it did. So I had some very unusual symptoms in like stomach pain as opposed to what you would think. Whenever I went to the hospital, the blood clot had shattered. So it blocked almost every major like organ in my body. My kidneys, my liver, my large intestines, and both of my legs.
So how long were you in the hospital as a result of this blood clot?
30 days. Right at 30 days.
Um, were these life-threatening injuries?
Absolutely. They told my children and me that I had about a 25% chance of living. If I did live through it, it was anticipated that I would be a double amputee because they knew they were going to have to cut off my legs from at least the knee down, if not more.
Why?
Because of the damage from no blood flow. I basically had zero blood flow. So that was a problem.
But
So
somehow they rectified the situation. You didn't lose your legs.
they didn't rectify anything. Actually, my body pretty much dissolved blood clot for the most part. And thank God, like I managed to come out and I was okay for 10 years. Then here in Texas, that first one happened when I was living in Florida. 10 years later, I am also in a position where I'm under a lot of pressure. And I was working, trying to settle another case of a quadriplegic.
So just so the members of the jury clear, that's the first time you had a blood
It's the first time.
10 years later, you have another blood
Yep,
clot.
approximately 6 years ago, I had another one. So the second one was also an aortic blood clot, did the same thing. Like it was shattered. I had blood clots everywhere, all through my body. So they airlifted me from Mesquite to Dallas to Baylor Scott White, where it was the same situation again. Like I was in risk of dying from that point. Obviously, I was airlifted, so like it wasn't a good situation, but I'm here.
You survived.
I am.
After you survived that death scare, I mean, how does that affect your life?
I think it affects everything. Like whenever you come that close, not once, I mean, once is enough, but twice, I think you have to reevaluate your life, like what you're looking for in life, if you're where you need to be in life, and you know, you think about what's going to happen to your children and your future at that
All right,
point.
so at that time, did you reevaluate what you were doing and what things you wanted to do in life?
Absolutely.
And so what happened after that?
I've raised children, I feel like, from the time I was born. Like, you know, my kids are older, but they've always been with me and I've always been spending money on them. There's never enough money. It's gone before you get it. So my retirement wasn't right. It wasn't where it needed to be. I obviously needed to start putting money back for retirement and get my life straight for that. And plus, I don't want to work all the time. Like, I didn't want to work all the time.
So did you heard Jimmy say you kicked everybody out? What's your version of that?
That's not correct. Like, I wanted to go back home to Florida. Like, Texas is great, I'm sure, but I'm from Florida primarily. I wanted to go back home. So the whole goal was for me to move the family back to Florida while I was waiting on some larger cases to settle so that I would have more cash flow. So we invested, I gave them the money for a down payment on a house. They bought the house. I helped to get them there, paid off my son's car so that he would be able to help pay that payment and put them in the house in Florida.
So your plan was always to go back to Florida?
Absolutely.
And at some point, you and Nina wanted to go back to Florida.
It was always our intent to go back to Florida.
In fact, did you have a business there?
We did. We opened a business during COVID, a law firm together that was doing personal injury, and it was doing well.
Okay. All right. Tell us how you met Charles Beltran.
He was working for my son, Kyle, as a bouncer at a bar in Deep Ellum. I was actually looking for workers to work at an election poll for a local judge here in the civil divisions. And I needed, I think, 15 people under a certain age and demographic bracket to work this poll. So Kyle introduced me to several of the young men that are in the area and young women. And I got their phone numbers. They got my phone number to work this situation.
Okay. How did you end up investing in rap career?
I'm sorry?
How did you end up investing in Chuck's rap career?
I met him in April. He reached out to me at some point, and he reached out to me to make connection. And it was primarily for someone to fund him in his career choices. He actually talked to me from April on through the time whenever I moved the children out of the house in August. But he presented himself well. He also had had a fairly successful career in Austin, not like what you heard here that was played. It was actually something where he was invited to a couple of locations and he was working with other people in his career. So perhaps they were the more talented aspect, but he had a more successful kind of career choice.
But were you, initially, again, was it a love interest thing?
No, Chuck was and continued to always be a business interest that went sideways.
In fact, why did you buy the car?
I bought the car as an investment and a tax deduction basically for him in his career. I set up a company for him called Math Class. That was his company for him to be able to do this music and to record.
I mean, y'all helped him with a lot of legal stuff, right?
We did.
And before I forgot it, he had paternity issues.
He
with
did.
Jasmine.
He had paternity issues with Jasmine and he had visitation issues with Emerald out of Austin.
And were y'all helping him with that?
Yes, at his request.
At his request?
Yes.
Any notion about you trying to steal Jasmine's baby?
I raised 3. I don't want any more babies. I would never.
All right. I want to move forward and let's just get to the point. This trip to Arkansas. First, I think you indicated it wasn't even a scheduled trip.
Not for me and Nina.
How'd you end up going on the trip?
We had paid for them to go. We had paid for the hotel. We had paid for all of it for them to actually perform. It was a performance. When we couldn't fly to California, Chuck had 2 tickets that were his, that were comp tickets. And he said, well, who would I take but you 2? Like, you've, funded this, you're part of it, so will you go? It was like about a 4-hour ride, I think. So that's something that I could tolerate. As long as I'm sitting down or laying down, that's okay. I could do that.
Now, you heard Dykes and everybody say you were driving. Is that true?
No, I was in the passenger seat and it was reclining.
Okay, so who was driving?
Nina was driving.
When y'all are down in Arkansas, you heard, I think it was Freddie, they were joking about Chuck having to come to your room to have sex with y'all. Did he have come to your room and have sex with y'all?
Absolutely not.
But did he come to the room and have a drink?
I think he might have. I think he did.
When y'all finished, do you remember when y'all got back to Dallas?
I don't remember exactly what time it was, but we checked out at about 11-ish. So I think it's a 4.
Welcome, Justina Kindrich. Welcome, Justina, to the Taco Club. Hello to you, Justina. Maxi Taxi is here. Maxi Taxi. Hello, Maxi Taxi.
4-hour drive, which would put us mid-afternoon.
Okay. As far as when y'all get back, who takes the van back?
Nina and I took the van back.
You didn't trust Chuck to take the van back?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so y'all take the van back.
Yes.
Once you take the van back, do you recall what y'all did up at that point?
I don't specifically. I think we stopped and got food and went home and watched TV. Pretty much.
And that would be October the 4th, right?
Yes,
That's
sir.
Sunday.
Oh, and I forgot. We had to go pick up the dog because we had boarded him.
All right.
So we went and got the dog.
And tell us about this dog.
Chuck had brought home a dog.
What type of dog?
He was a pit bull mix.
And
And the dog's name was uniquely Charles. So we had a dog.
who took care of that dog?
I did.
Did Chuck take care of the dog at all?
The dog hated Chuck. Absolutely. When he brought the dog home, he said that he wanted it for some protection in the house, extra protection in the house. And the dog was okay with him for a while, but Chuck used to beat the dog. So the dog started to get to a point where he was growling every time Chuck was around. He was not having Chuck around.
And where did that dog stay?
He slept in my bed. He
Because
stayed.
when Nina was there, did she sleep in the bed with you?
Yes.
All right. Was he almost like a service dog to you?
He was like a comfort animal, more than a service dog. So he stayed with us all the time.
But you took care of him.
I took care of him.
And so when y'all went to Arkansas, y'all boarded him.
We boarded him for that day.
And when you got the dog,
We went and got the dog.
anything else uneventful happened on that, I guess, Sunday?
Not
that
at
you
all.
recall?
Not at all.
Okay. Now, during that time period, was Nina working on a big case?
Yes, just as I had said, she had a particularly large case with a building that was in the city where the elevators were failing off and on. So all of the tenants and tenant association was really upset with it.
And was she receiving and sending, I guess, packages back and forth?
Yes, in particular discovery. So she was in a process of discovery on this with maintenance records and dealing with the maintenance people that work for the city of New York with this building.
On that weekend, she's working on her case. Was she anticipating some documents?
She was.
I guess that Monday, was she still looking for the documents?
Yes, they were supposed to come in, I think, Monday morning in early delivery, but they didn't show.
Okay, because the documents didn't show, what did y'all do?
Well, we were kind of in dire straits because Nina really needed them because when she flew back, she had a hearing, I think. So it was something that we had to have. So she started to look for where the documents were.
All right. And short, later that evening, did y'all go to a FedEx?
We did.
All right. And you seen we talked about the FedEx that you went to. It wasn't in Wilmer, was it?
I don't believe it was. No, it was more toward the Hutchins area, maybe.
Okay. They and is this a tell me to the jury a little bit about the FedEx location y'all ended up going to?
It was one of the larger distribution centers in the area. Like it's like a major kind of hub area. So it's one of the bigger ones.
And is it all 45 though?
I believe it is, yes.
And again, it's not in Hutchins, right? I mean, it's not in Wilmer, but it's in Hutchins.
I think so.
And is it in that same vicinity that they're saying that your phone's pinged?
I believe it is.
One moment, please.
So I think it's a good time to take our afternoon break, ladies and gentlemen. We will be at recess for 5 minutes.
All right.
Yes.
Nina was picking up.
Nina was picking up from work. Yes, they had sent her the package that she needed.
Okay, and she had been trying to locate that package.
She did try, but it's so hard and she needed it really quick. So like tracking it electronically wasn't working like it needed to. So it just made sense to go someplace and get some help with it.
All right, now when y'all go down to this distribution center, well, if I told you that the address was 1101 East Cleveland Road in Hutchins, Texas, would that be about right?
Yeah, I believe so, yes.
And how far would you say that's from your house?
I think it's probably a 20, 25-minute drive, maybe.
From Mesquite?
Yes.
Like this, 635, 21, you're there.
Yes, sir.
All right. Madam Pro Tem,
Right.
let me show you what's marked as defense exhibit from 11 to 12.
Well, I think I was expecting to do it.
Yes, ma'am. Let me show you what's marked as defense exhibit number 11 and 12. Does this look like I mean, it's just a MapQuest where we pulled up that location in relation to your home and where that FedEx distribution center is?
Yes, sir.
Will this assist you in testifying to the members of the jury the route that you recall y'all taking that day?
It does, yes.
All right. Judge Olof was marked as defense exhibit number 11 and defense 12.
No objection, Your Honor. All right,
Commissioner
defense-
Buttons.
Well, defense exhibits 11 and 12 are admitted for all purposes.
Thank you.
We may.
Now, just so members of the jury know, we're saying your house would have been somewhere up in here, right?
Yes, sir.
And then y'all travel to Hudson's here.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, do you recall when y'all got on 45, what exit were y'all supposed to take?
I don't know the number, but it's like Dowdy Ferry.
Let me check with Martez Defense 13. Defense 12, I'm sorry. And is this Dowdy Ferry here?
Yes, sir.
And just so the members of the jury know, when you come out 45, you loop and come in this area here, and that's where the distribution center is.
Yes, it's someplace back in there. It's sort of like off.
All right. So at some point when y'all are trying to get to the distribution center, do y'all miss the turn at Dowdy Ferry?
Yes, we did.
And where did y'all end up having to turn around at?
I think it was like Wintergreen.
Okay. So would Wintergreen be in this area here? Or is it East Wintergreen?
Yes.
So you come further down 45 south, exit is 273, and then y'all would loop back around, right?
Yes, sir.
And go back up till you get to the distribution center, right?
Yes, sir.
And this is basically what we see here, right? Going back up to the distribution center in this area.
Yes, sir.
All right. As far as the towers that they showed, that you saw the state show, if you were in that area, would that explain why your phones were pinging in that area?
I would assume so.
Did you go to Wimmer that day?
No.
Other than going to that Wintergreen out 45 and looping back up to go to the distribution center, did you ever go to, what is it? I think it was 3600 Post Oak and drop a body off?
No, sir.
I do want to talk to you a little bit more about the distribution center so the members of the jury will understand. Again, this is a huge distribution center, right?
Yes, it's extremely large.
When y'all get there, do you have trouble finding somewhere to park?
Nina did have trouble finding some place to park. There's a lot of folks that come and go from there.
All right, and as far as that, was she trying to find somewhere to park up close at first?
She was, because obviously, like, we generally do things together, but like I'm not walking any distance at all, so that's not happening.
So at some point she parked, tried to go in, or went in, right? Because you didn't go in.
No.
Okay. At some point, is she able to pick up the package?
She went in, but I think we might have been late. I'm not sure, but she didn't get the package.
Okay. After y'all leave that distribution center, what do y'all do?
We went back home.
Did she subsequently find a way to get her package?
I'm assuming she did. Like, I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming she did, or managed to get the documents another way.
Okay. At any time while y'all were in that Hudson's area, did you have Marisela with you?
No.
All right, let's get to talk about Charles Beltran some more. I think when we left off, we were talking about Charles the dog.
Charles the dog.
Okay. I want to talk to you about
piece of clothing on it. It's like a long white robe.
I'm getting annoyed with this video. Freaking Nora. I got it. I got it. I got it.
But it was bundled up in like unfloored closet. It's not anything else. So it was just a bunch of stuff and storage that we had in there that we kept locked, including paperwork that we didn't want shown to people coming to look at the house.
Well, you heard the neighbor from Pennsylvania said y'all were kneeling to it, praying to it. Remember that?
I remember her saying that, and I also have no concept why she would have said it. We never did that.
Did that skeleton have anything to do with Santa Monica?
Absolutely not.
Okay, back to Mr. Beltran. Now, you don't have any felony convictions, right?
No.
What you have a death check or something like that?
There was 2 return checks to Costco that I didn't know anything about until I came here to Dallas on these charges, and they served me with those. So those return checks happened while I was in Pennsylvania.
But those checks out of Rockwall?
They're out of Rockwall.
Oh, and wasn't there something about a gun? What
Yes,
gun at the
sir.
airport?
Yes, I had a very, very, very small antique handgun that was completely jammed. The bullet was jammed in the chamber, so wouldn't fire, wouldn't shoot. I took it to a gun shop that was really close to the house, but the gunsmith wasn't there. And I did it right before I was flying to see the kids that weekend. Forgot I had it. When I got to the airport, I realized the minute I was going through security, I was like, no, I have a gun in this purse. So I told them at the spot that I did. I was never actually arrested on that charge. Like, it was a situation where they told me if I had like a concealed carry permit, the gun wouldn't have been an issue. I could have taken it back out and put it in the locker or in the car and gone on the trip. But I was never actually arrested with that. I was stayed at the airport facility, and it was dismissed, and I left and went home.
Okay, but I do want to ask you, Chuck did carry a gun, didn't he?
All the time, every day, any place that he went.
I want to talk to, when did he actually move in with you?
He moved in August whenever the children moved out to the house in Florida.
And I say moved in with you, I mean, you're not the only person he lived with, right?
No,
I mean, you knew he had an apartment, right?
absolutely.
Or an apartment that he also stayed with some other women.
Absolutely. He stayed in a couple of different locations with women, I believe.
But particularly one woman, this Carmen, right?
As I understood it, yes.
And it wasn't just Carmen, there was other women at that place too.
Yes, from what I understood.
So he moves in, you buy him all that studio equipment.
Yes,
That's true.
absolutely.
He sets up studio in your house.
He does.
And is he working at first?
He did. He was extremely devoted to it. He kept a whiteboard on the wall. He had scheduled songs that he was doing, scheduled recording times. He had someone coming over to help him produce. So he was actually doing what he was supposed to do. He was trying to create music to actually put on iTunes and make money off of it.
And were you investing in that?
Yes,
The video that I forced the jury to watch, did you pay for that?
yes, I did.
That video and the way he's acting on that video, is that Chuck?
Yes, it is. All the time.
That's not a show, right? That's
No.
who he really is, isn't it?
That really is him.
As far as that studio and as far as him bringing women, were you jealous about him bringing women?
Absolutely not.
As far as him bringing people to the house, did you ever have an argument with him about having some men that you ran into in your own house?
I did. I came home one night from work at 7 o'clock, and I didn't know anybody was there. So I went to my room, changed clothes, came in, and got surprised in the kitchen by a strange man who walked out. And Chuck wasn't there.
Okay. And did that upset you?
Very much so.
And did you let him know that?
I did. I told him that I really didn't want anybody in the house unless he was there, particularly men, whenever I wouldn't know there was anybody in the house with me. So
Okay. But as far as these women, you heard him say, hey, he brought women over there all the time. Is that true?
he did. He would bring not one, sometimes 2, 3.
And did guys sometimes come with them too?
Absolutely.
They'd be back up in that studio, right?
Absolutely.
They were doing their thing, you were doing your thing.
Yes,
Did he brag about pulling trains on people?
he did.
Now, What is pulling the train?
He particularly seemed to like having a friend of his, a male friend of his, come over to be with the girls that he brought home. So that's basically 2 guys and a girl.
And he would brag about it.
Absolutely.
What, did that make you jealous?
No.
I want to fast forward to the early morning hours of October 5th of 2020. Was Nina there?
Yes.
Were you and Nina there in your room asleep?
Yes, with the dog.
On that day, did you ever come in contact with Marisela?
No.
When Chuck arrived there with her, according to the phone records, in the early morning hours, did you ever know he was there?
No.
Anything unusual about him arriving at your house in the early morning hours?
No.
You heard him say that at some point you came into that room and you stabbed Marisela. Did you go into the room and stab Marisela?
No.
Did you struggle with Marisela?
No, absolutely not. No.
Did you argue with Chuck about Marisela?
No.
Had you ever met Marisela?
No.
In reference to this whole Chuck Marisela ordeal, how did you find out about it?
I found out about it whenever the FBI agent showed up and called me on the phone.
Okay, now before that,
there is a music video. They played it. But they played it when he was on the stand, or part of it. They did play it already. I think Jonathan said it was quite good. I'm not sure what day he was on the stand though.
have you gone into Chuck's room and cleaned his room up?
No.
So as far as whatever blood was in there, who cleaned that blood up, you have no idea.
I have no idea.
You just know it wasn't you.
I know I wasn't, no. I didn't go in the room. No. It wasn't me.
It wasn't Nina.
It wasn't Nina.
On that night, you don't know how many people he had in that room, do you?
I have no idea.
The next morning, did you ever come in contact with Marisela?
No.
Did you come in contact with Chuck?
No.
At some point, he leaves or at some point you started out in the alley, right?
Yes.
Because on the night of October the 5th, or the early morning hours of October the 5th, who's in the alley?
Chuck.
That next day, who was in the alley?
Chuck.
All right, you heard the FBI agents say that they came to talk to you.
Right.
All right. You tell members of the jury what you remember.
They apparently came to my house. I was at work. I was working. So I got a phone call from an agent that claimed he was an FBI agent while I was on the clock at work. So I talked to him there. His conversation with me was basically, do you know Chuck Beltran, or Charles Beltran, I think was what he said. And I was like, yes, I do. How do you know? He lives at the residence with me. So he lives there.
Now, let me stop you there. Up to this point, do you know anything about some missing girl from Seattle?
No.
You know anything about Charles Beltran being the last person seen with Marcel?
No. I had no clue.
All right, then what happened?
So I told him who he was, that he lived there. The agent didn't go into a whole lot of detail. He said something to the effect that he was the last person seen with a girl who was missing. And that's pretty much the gist of it. He asked me the last time I had seen him, which I think I told him it had been about 2 weeks, because at that point it kind of had been that long. So he asked me that. He told me when I spoke to him to let him know that he was looking for him, which I did promptly. I told him that.
So after you talked to the agent, you immediately called?
I called him. I said there was an FBI agent that showed up at the house who called me and said that he's looking for you. Here's who it is. That's
Maxi Josie is in Discord in general.
Did Charles go into detail about Marcel at that time?
No, he did not elaborate. He didn't say anything else about it. he was like, okay, he took the number supposedly, and that was that.
Did he seem worried at all?
No, not even a little.
Not a concern in the world
No,
that the FBI was looking for him?
no.
I do want to kind of backtrack. At some point, we talked about Beltran, Charles being in the car on October the 5th. At some point, did you drop Nina off at the airport in that vehicle?
Yes,
How did that take place?
I think her flight left on that Wednesday. And whenever I got up to take her to the airport, and then I was going back to work that day because I hadn't worked Monday or Tuesday. So when I went out to the garage, the Audi was there and my Hyundai was gone. So I took the Audi and drove to the airport and went to work.
All right, just so members of the jury know, that's really nothing unusual, right?
No, it wasn't.
Did he have keys to both vehicles?
Yes,
And you put gas in it, he run it out?
bring it, drop it off, I'd have another one. And he would do that while I was at the office too. I would not see Chuck. I would just go out from the office and a different car would be parked in the spot. So
And did that create problems for you at the office as far as your files and your documentation?
yes, because
Explain that to the members of the jury.
yeah, whenever you go home and you work from the office, like sometimes I would need the actual hard physical file. I couldn't just access it by online application to the office file. So I would take the physical file with me. So they would typically be in the back of my Tucson. So I could get them or I would take them back to work and they would be in the car. So when he would change these vehicles or leave with my vehicle and I couldn't get to it and I had a file in the car, that's a real issue because they're active files and something that's being worked on every day. That can cause me to get fired. So him taking the vehicle and me not able to get a hold of him or him trade it back or me be able to get to that was a serious issue for me.
And you saw the phone records earlier showing that you kept trying to contact him.
Yes, sir.
Do you think that's what that was about?
I'm pretty sure that's what that was about.
Did Charles ever tell you what happened to Marisela?
No,
What did he even talk about?
no,
I'm saying even after y'all realized that he was wanted, you were wanted, what did he talk about?
no. And I didn't know I was wanted until,
Okay, we'll talk about that. As far as after you talked to this FBI agent, right?
yes, sir.
Did somehow your address end up on the social media?
Immediately that same day.
What problems did that create for you?
It was havoc. That very day that he called me, that night I was at home and I got a text message from someone claiming to be an FBI agent. It was very threatening. It was, I know you know where Chuck is. You need to have him here at such and such a time, such and such a day. Extremely aggressive. So, I mean, it really kind of throws you off. Like, I don't know who this person is. I actually texted this person back and I said, if you will send me a picture of your badge, like your badge number, then I will communicate with you. Never heard another thing.
What
No,
other
no.
issues did you have after your address went viral?
While I was stuck with Audi and hadn't been able to get the Tucson back, somebody slashed the tires while I was driving it. So it was really kind of aggressive. Like I was getting strange phone calls too. Like it was out there. A full picture of the house was out there. It was not safe at all in any way, shape, or form. I had no idea who knew that, who Chuck even had around him that was going to be coming where I was.
Okay, and you felt like all this threatening attention was coming from who?
I felt like it was Chuck and Chuck's friends, Chuck's people, Chuck's surrounding people around him.
And what about the people that were concerned with Marisela?
I'm sorry.
Was there a lot of social media stuff?
Absolutely. It was everywhere. As far as I know, it was everywhere.
So the fact that I guess your home where you live was on social media,
Absolutely.
and that gave you concern,
Very much so.
safety concerns.
Very much so.
At some point, will you tell the members of the jury why you quit your job and went to Florida?
We had intended to go to Florida, but I didn't go to Florida first. Like we still had the house in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So, I mean, this was emotionally very, very, very stressful. Having my house out there, having people contacting me, the tires being slashed. I'm by myself in Texas. Like I'm still like my legs are a nightmare and a disaster. Like I'm still trying to recover. It was awful trying to be here by myself and deal with that.
Okay, so did you end up going to Pennsylvania where Nina was?
I did. Nina and I had already planned that in January of that next year that we were going to move to the same location anyway. Like it depended on how the house sold as to whether we were going to Pennsylvania or to Florida.
Well,
But
you saw the state had a document saying you had just signed the lease.
I did sign the lease because I wasn't leaving until January and the lease was up on October the 1st. I didn't want to move furniture or do any of that. So signing the lease was the best solution. Nina and I talked about it, and I went ahead and signed it just so that we would have those 3 months from October until January for me to be able to, finish out, because there were a couple of larger cases that I was trying to resolve for the bonus before I left.
All right, now, as far as, when did y'all actually put the house up for sale in Pennsylvania, if you remember?
I don't remember exactly when we signed the listing because the house had so much repair to have done. Like we borrowed the money around,
How much money did y'all borrow?
100,000
And that was for repairs on the house.
for repairs on the house. It needed a new roof, it needed a new foundation, and it needed a whole new deck on the back.
Okay, did y'all do all that?
We did affect all those repairs. Oh, and we had to tear down like a small like barn out building too, so we had to pay for that.
All right, and did that increase the value of the house?
Yes, it surely did.
You hear, I guess everyone's saying y'all were in a rush to sell the house.
We wanted to sell it, and we wanted that income because we wanted to buy a place in Miami because that's where we wanted to live, and that's why we needed the money. That was the goal.
Y'all needed the money to have anything to do with y'all being on the run.
Absolutely not.
At some point, did y'all sell the house in Pennsylvania?
We did.
Then what happened?
Well, we had already moved and relocated to Florida, so I was working in Hollywood, which is like a little outside area of Miami. So we started to look for a house or property, and we also considered the concept of opening a bar in the Miami area, and Kyle actually managing it for us. So we were looking at a couple of different thoughts.
Okay, let's backtrack. How did Charles Beltran end up in Pennsylvania?
He knew about the property. He knew that we had the house in Pennsylvania. He knew that we had listed it on the market. So he knew where this house was. So we're in Pennsylvania. We had not actually talked to him. He ended up in Bethlehem, which is just outside of East Stroudsburg where the house was. He called us and told us that he was there.
So y'all didn't send for him?
No.
He just showed up?
He just showed up.
When he showed up, was he asking questions about the house?
He wanted to know if the house had sold. Obviously, he was after the money. He wanted to know if the house had sold. He wanted to know where we were in the house sale.
Okay, but why are you putting up with Charles Beltran?
Charles was a lot more aggressive than what you have been told. He was really bad as far as aggression goes. One night in particular, he was trying to get a hold of me for money. Whenever I woke up in the morning, I had 99 missed phone calls from this man. 99. And he also, at one point, I had locked the door. His access into the house was through the garage door because he would come in through the garage. There's a door that went between the kitchen and the garage. So I locked that door. He didn't have a key to it. It really made him mad. When I got home that night, the door was broken. Like the actual door itself was split, the door. And he broke the frame to the point where you couldn't fix the latch on the door. So that was how mad and aggressive he was.
Okay, so you heard all these women talking about how sweet he was. Is that the 50-50 he's referring to?
Well, it's not the 50 I got most of the time in the later days, but he could definitely appear to be. He was a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Okay, let me ask you this. As far as, even after y'all found out he was a person of interest, why did you keep,
I'm sorry, he was a what?
after you found out, when did you find out he was a person of interest that the police wanted to talk to you?
On that 13th, a phone call from the FBI.
Okay, all right. Okay, at some point y'all go to Miami.
Mhm.
Does he end up in Miami?
He did end up in Miami. Yes. He pretty much we had to go get him in Mexico. So when we came back from Mexico, Nina and I were already in between the move because we were in a contract on the house in Pennsylvania.
Okay, let's talk about Mexico. Why did y'all go to Mexico? Is that y'all's idea or his?
Yes. Chuck wanted to go to Mexico.
Chuck wants something, y'all make it happen.
We made it happen because I didn't trust that I would not end up like Miss Botello and Nina, both of us, or our families for that matter.
So you did what Chuck asked you to do.
Absolutely.
At some point, I want to go ahead and talk about when y'all find out, well, when Nina gets arrested. Y'all already set up in Florida, right?
Yes.
You already got your business plan, trying to relocate.
Yes.
You heard the agent say that you were there the day she got arrested. Is that correct?
Yes.
Tell me to the jury what happened.
Nina had sent me a text that led me to believe that she was either in the process of being arrested or arrested. My concern was us being able to have enough time for me to get attorneys lined up for us to be able to get something prepared before both of us were arrested, and likely not to be able to do that.
And is that what you did?
That's exactly what I did.
You got out of there,
Yes,
and eventually you got arrested.
I did.
When you got arrested, you saw the video, right?
I did.
Were you on the phone with a lawyer?
At that time, it sure was.
In fact, this lawyer right here.
Yes.
Again, trying to make arrangements for you and Nina.
Yes.
And you indicated that you actually even sent a lawyer in Florida to try to help her.
I did. I was extremely concerned about Nina's mental health from this.
Okay, let me ask you, why were you concerned with Nina's mental health?
Nina's an attorney. Nina has spent an incredible amount of her time to be an attorney. She is actually a Cambridge scholar. So Nina really has invested everything into this. This case, in and of itself, has destroyed us. The fact that they have brought this charge against me and Nina has ruined our lives.
But ma'am, what I'm asking you about when Nina was in jail in Florida, did she try to commit suicide?
She
Or
was
did they
on
have a suicide watch?
She was on suicide watch because of these things, because of this. So yes,
And so when you see the text messages and you saying you hope Nina keep her shit together, is that what you're referring to?
yes, I did not want her to have a meltdown and try to commit suicide or effectively be able to do that. And I wanted her to have the knowledge that, you know, it's okay. I've got defense lined up for us. I've got things started. It's, you know, it'll be okay.
I just don't want to make sure I don't forget, because these girls that were at the apartment that Chuck also resided at, did you tell me, or did you say anything about him potentially being involved in trafficking?
I had suspicion that Chuck was involved with trafficking.
Why?
Because on a couple of occasions, like two separate ones that I can think of in particular, I found a suitcase at the house that was like in the living room area. It was just like a carry-on. And I looked to see what it was, and it was full of young girls' clothing. It was small sizes, young girls' clothing.
Okay. All right. After you got arrested, when did you first find out about that you were being charged with capital murder?
At the arrest in Florida, the arresting officer told me it was capital murder of a police officer and terroristic threatening.
Okay. Did you know what any of that means?
No.
At some point, were you transferred back here to Dallas?
Yes.
Nina as well?
Yes.
All right. You're being held on a capital murder warrant.
Yes.
At that time, as far as Mrs. Botello's disappearance, did you know that they were alleging that you stabbed her?
No. Not until I got here to Texas.
That's the first time you found out that they were alleging, that Charles was alleging that you stabbed Mrs. Botello.
Yes.
Did you stab Marisela?
Absolutely not.
Did you have any reason to stab Marisela?
Absolutely not.
Did you have some anger-crazed breakdown because you were so obsessed with Charles?
Absolutely not.
So you find out that you're being charged with, they're alleging that you stabbed Marisela and Nina helped, right?
That's what I
That was the
heard.
allegation, correct?
Yes.
So
that's
both of you are
what I heard.
charged.
Yep.
Start going through the process,
Yes.
eventually bond out.
Yes.
Okay, let's end that there. We're going over to the Krieger trial. So I will press end stream and it should automatically go over there. I just need to do a couple of bits and I'll be there in a couple of minutes. And then we'll come back at lunchtime. There's about half an hour left on this. So we'll do that. So see you on the other side. Freeze up,